Okay, let's pray. Father, I thank you for our town council and for those that are working here. And Lord, I've really come to like them. And Lord, I'm just thankful for what they do. And Father, they're looking out not for their own needs and desires, Lord, but they're looking out to make our town a good place. And I just pray you'd continue to help them. And Lord, there'll be decisions that they'll need to make tonight. And so just please be leading them and guiding them. And we thank you, Lord, for the unity that you've brought with them. And I just appreciate that, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Brian. Item 3 is approval of the agenda. We've got one correction that we need to make.
I'll move to approve it with the change of 10.3 needs to go to the bottom below 10.5. With that,
So 10.3 is adjournment of the Board of Adjustment, needs to be the bottom of the Board of Adjustment there.
yeah.
We got a first by Mark, a second by Alex to approve the agenda with that correction. All those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Our agenda is set. Item 4 is announcements and praise. Councillor Thompson, do you have those tonight?
I most certainly do. Thanks to Deb Holland for putting this together and helping us with all of that. Tonight, Sturgis Brown High School is starting homecoming. It's tonight at 7 o'clock. September 15th through the 21st, Operation Lifesaver Inc. asks people to work together to reduce crossing and trespassing incidents by raising awareness about rail safety. That starts the 15th and goes, that's today, through the 21st. This coming Friday is Sturgis Homecoming Parade at 2 o'clock through Sturgis. Football game against Huron at 6 o'clock at Woodle Field. Also Friday, First Interstate Bank is hosting a food and supplies drive for the Scooper and Stallion closets. Bags to fill can be picked up at the bank and returned on the 19th at Harley-Davidson Rally Point, or just bring your donations that day. Cash donations will be accepted. Food trucks on site on Harley-Davidson Way from 11 in the morning to 5 p.m. Friday for you to purchase food and watch the homecoming parade. That's Friday the 19th. This coming Saturday is the Fall Festival downtown Sturgis at Harley-Davidson Rally Point from 2 till 6, hosted by the Sturgis Area Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. That includes a hay bale maze and hay rides. There'll be live music all day, kids' fall festival activities, hot pepper eating competition. Tony? Local market featuring pepper-related vendor products. That's on Saturday. And then on next week, Wednesday the 24th through the 28th, is the Sturgis Bronco Rally. Show and Shine will be from 9 to 3:30 on Saturday, September 27th Street. And Deb, one thing I would add to that, next week starting the 25th, which is a Thursday, the class of 65 in Sturgis will have their 60-year class reunion. So looking forward to that. October 2nd is a Thursday, Sturgis Chamber's annual Ag Appreciation Banquet at the Sturgis Armory. And October 2nd also, Sturgis Ambulance Blood Drive from 10:30 to 3 at the Fire Hall. That's on Ballpark Road. So Deb Holland, thank you very much for putting that stuff together. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. Does anybody have any additional announcements or praise? How about members of the public? Anything they want to share, announcements or praise? All right, continuing on, non-agenda matters. Anything that's not on the agenda, if someone wants to address the council on a non-agenda item, now's the time to do so. Please approach to the dais and state your name.
Hi, Mayor, Council. My name is Christina Bean. Daniel Granello, as most of you are likely aware, we're residents of 1316 Spruce Street, and I am here to follow up on our last meeting. And that meeting was, I had attempted to reach out to a couple of people and not to seek the proper way to move forward, and not hearing back, I just decided to show up. Give me one moment. This thing is funky, and I don't know what I did with my note. I'm sorry. Public speaking isn't my forte. Okay. At the last council meeting, we sat before you to discuss the poorly written ordinance and respectfully ask for the relief from the current restrictions for temporary residential camping in Title 11, Chapter 8. We asked for permission to begin taking reservations at our residents during the 2026 motorcycle rally, specifically July 31st to August 21st, for up to 19 camping units. Our request was derailed by the idea of limiting or restricting properties located within a 100-year floodplain. While developing, this became a consideration while developing the application for a permit that should have been created before the ordinance went into effect on December 14th, 2021. It was decided that we would return to council on 10/20, and the code committee would have enough time to determine the preliminary steps to revise Title 11, Chapter 8. We know writing new code is a lengthy process, and we know it needs to be done. But simply put, we can't wait for a new code, and we completely missed the mark for the reason we were here last. The point of us being on the agenda was not to discuss the provisions should be added to or included in a camping ordinance. It was not to ask approval for an application that doesn't exist. It was us standing here asking for permission to begin taking reservations for next year, as we are the first people that have ever had an issue with any of our rally neighbors. After digesting the outcome of the meeting, I did a quick Google search, and AI told me that FEMA does not have a specific regulation for recreational camping. Needing a little more credibility than AI, I did contact District 8 and was told that they only have minimal requirements to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. With another search, I found that the National Flood Insurance Program does not specifically regulate tent camping either. It is not a structure or a development. And this leaves legislation up to the state or local government. Within this state and the South Dakota codified law, private property owners and private campgrounds are also granted immunity of any liability associated with death, injury, or damage to property. Though I was anything specifically supporting claiming regulations on the federal level or not supporting, this was the primary reason for us not being granted the permission to move forward. And based off from all of these findings, I hope you reconsider, especially given the fact that not only is this not mentioned in the current ordinance, means that this should not be taken into consideration for those seeking relief from the current, operative word, current, provisions outlined in Title 11, Chapter 8. We also should not be held to a different standard than any other homeowner that offers the same service throughout the rally. So I ask you, if we're going to be held to this standard, shouldn't everyone that offers camping in the floodplain receive those same restrictions? And how is that going to be policed or enforced? Are y'all going to go knocking on doors before the rally, asking and hoping that they tell you the truth if they offer camping? If they have camping in their yard in a floodplain, are you going to knock on the door and tell them that they have to move? Can residents even be held accountable to provisions that were never written in an ordinance? So I'm asking that if we omit the considerations of the floodplain and focus solely on why we came here to begin with, may we please be granted permission to start taking reservations while y'all work on a new ordinance. And if you are going to consider the floodplain, I have a whole other page of notes and some motorcycle accident statistics that I can share. Sorry, I'm very nervous.
Yeah. Well, obviously, this is the time for non-agenda items. Council voted on a process their last meeting. We can definitely consider, looking at that, but no decisions will be made tonight because we don't have an agenda item. To add to the discussion here?
Well, when it comes down to the ordinance, And we talked about, I'm not sure if there's confusion, at least from my perspective and the staff's perspective, on what's written in the ordinance. One of the things that we thought may need to be readdressed is if you're talking about large-scale camping, and anything over 2 tents is considered large-scale camping. So it was at the intent of council to be able to have that kind of limit. Because as you point out, there's a lot of people during the rally that have more than 2 tents or 2 camping units. So there'd be a lot of people in the past that would be in violation of our current ordinance. So our recommendation was, if the intent was to have, some kind of, we know that you can't go over 19, but is there a number between 19 and 1 that's more appropriate for small scale, for lack of a better term, camping? So that was the first part. We are working on a permit. Been working with Rick. Rick has contacted FEMA, and we've been getting some of the similar information. I mean, I've seen the regulations where it talks about not able to camp with an 100-year storm, but when we talked to them, they said, well, not sure if that's really enforced. So we're still looking at that piece of it. At the end of the day, I guess it really comes down to what the council wants to do when it comes down to camping. Right now, the ordinance my job is to enforce the ordinance. That's what we're doing. As you point out, everybody has the opportunity to get a permit. I don't know why in 21 it wasn't established. I became aware of it a month ago, and we started jumping on it. But at the same time, we're also been working on the budget and a lot of other things. So we're trying to put that into the context of everything else, but we are moving forward with it, trying to come up with some kind of vetting process that allows the council to make a good decision based on whatever that permit recommendation is.
Anybody from council have any input?
Mr. Mayor, I think I would, as a citizen, I wasn't aware that you had to have a permit, but I guess it depends on the number. If in May, if I have someone coming to visit me and they have a tent and they'd like to do that in my backyard, does that mean I have to have a permit in order to do that? Or does it have to do with how many tents you're using? And if that's the case, I think that's what you were asking. And the idea that the FEMA issue came up was brand new, I think, to all of us. So we needed to get information, and I don't know, as was indicated, any security were official. Were there, Aaron, did you get a chance? Nothing, you've not found anything definitive with FEMA?
Nothing definitive. I mean, we've found regulations, and again, there's a lot of regulations out there, and just like ordinances, you may, and I absolutely can see where you're going to find different information or different interpretations. But when we have talked to FEMA, they seem to downplay the importance of the 100-year flood piece of it. So if that's what I've asked them is that, well, show me where that is not an issue, and I'm fine with that part of it. So again, just trying to make sure that we dot the I's, cross the T's to ensure that, again, we're perspective that may not be an issue.
And how many years have you been doing this? So have you got, or have there been permits? Did you apply? So was this the first time?
The first day we moved here, we were approached by Dave Smith, the previous code enforcer, and there was no issue during his tenure here in office. It wasn't until recently, this year after Raleigh, when it was told that it is going to be an issue.
Who told you that?
Donovan.
And the provisions that have come up were not even the ones that were cited when we were visited by Donovan. He was simply saying that we haven't had our place since 2012 and offered camping since then. he did say that we could seek the variance and had to go through council, which is what we did, but we couldn't seek the permit because the application doesn't exist. And it was never there was time for that to also have been brought to our attention, the first half hour we were here in town. So it was never once mentioned that it had to be done.
The ordinance states that if you're going to have more than one camping unit, you either have to have a permit that's approved by council, or if you've been running a larger scale camping up to 19 units prior to August 1st of 2012, then you were grandfathered with that ordinance to continue to be able to provide that type of camping experience. But if you didn't own that property from 2012, the ordinance states then at that point, then you'd have to go back and ask for a permit because that grandfather clause does not transfer from one owner to the next.
So the big issue is that you're supposed to have a permit. Prior, it obviously wasn't being enforced, right? You're supposed to have a permit according to ordinance, doesn't exist. We need that, right, and that's no fault of yours. Why it was not put into play in 21, I have no idea. Beyond the floodplain issues, maybe that's not an issue at all. We don't know. But the permit application and that process, I think, is important because there's a few other issues that I'm not saying we can't get around. I mean, we've got, we can't have campers on the sidewalk or protruding beyond the sidewalk. So there's just other issues beyond FEMA that just need to be addressed. Not saying we can't get around them and fix them and get a permit, but I think we need a clear path forward.
If I may, I think I know what you're alluding to. It was a bad decision on our part.
And I'm not saying that that stuff can't be addressed and
Yeah.
you get your permit and go on your way.
Yeah, and
Great.
it was, and we corrected that.
We just need a clear path forward.
For the sake of time tonight, I mean, we've been on this for 10 minutes or a little more now. Are we in agreement that we'll accept a permit? I mean, we don't have a written form, but I mean, I guess in that case, a verbal request probably fits. And it could be placed on the agenda so the council could consider it. Myself, though, I like the idea, the decision that you made last meeting. Some of the camping ordinance pieces, to me, don't make sense. I have a family reunion in town. I can't have two. I mean, my family piece comes in a camper and they have a tent for the kids. That's two camping units. I can't do that. And so I think there's some room to look at the ordinance. But that process is not going to happen. I mean, an ordinance process takes a planning, discussion, first reading, second reading, 20 days after it's published in the legal newspaper, it goes into effect. So, I mean, honestly, if we were working on it now, it wouldn't happen until.
Yeah, the ordinance needs probably some work, but right now,
So-
as it sits, we need a permit process.
So is that a reasonable piece to deal with this right now?
Well, we're working on it. Rick, we thought we had until the second meeting in October, so Rick has actually started working on the actual.
Okay.
I provided some information. He's going to put a permit together. We were hoping that we could maybe have it for next meeting, but again, based on the decision you made last meeting, we thought we had to the second meeting in October. So we've just been blending it into our work plan as we do everything else. But if you want us to make that more of a priority, we'll do that and get it done here for the next meeting.
Well,
Aaron's right, we did. That was
That was your decision?
That was
well,
the understanding.
honestly, our first meeting in October is a heavy lift with budget. I mean, when you're going over the entire, right, but if we were to bump it, I mean, I guess we have a special meeting coming up the 29th, but that's budget focused as well. Council needs to make that decision, but it's a direction to me, to staff, so we won't be voting on that.
If I may, it's just to go back to what they initially were talking about. They're asking for permission to start taking reservations. And so I don't know if we have an answer for them for that. Because couldn't they take reservations, and then if they
Well,
put in
and
a
you-
permit and
you
then we deny it, then they can tell them that, sorry, or whatever reservations they have, then they're canceled?
Well, couldn't we currently, there is no permit, couldn't we currently take a verbal request, like you said earlier? Or
Because
not?
I understand the urgency that you have of people wanting to make reservations for next year and your potential loss of revenue and all that too. So I understand your viewpoint and I feel for you.
Well, again, it's not an agenda item, and we're branching into a decision here, so.
Well, we have that special meeting on the 29th. How about we would have a permit in place where it could be considered on that special meeting? Does that work? That'd be our very next meeting.
The permit form,
Yes.
and so an application would follow thereafter.
Well,
Head nod consensus?
well, and again, it probably doesn't need a vote by the council to have a permit. I think we can do that on the staff side, and that we could have that done, provide it to them, and then maybe they could present that and have that as a budget or as an agenda item for the 29th. So they would get approval on the 29th. Does that work?
Thank you, Aaron. That works for me. Does that work for you?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has a non-agenda item? Our VFW riders.
3 minutes, Mayor. Greg Harrington, Sturgis American Legion Riders. Full disclosure, I'm a county resident. However, Jeff Guffey is our Assistant Director of the Sturgis Legion Riders, Mayor and City Council, and he is a Sturgis resident. Just real quickly, we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary, Mayor and Council, for American Legion Riders of Sturgis on the 10th of September. And we just wanted to thank Chief Vanderwater, Deb Holland, Colonel Jordan, yourself, Mayor, and the City Council for selecting us to lead the 85th rally this year. We accepted not to gain attention, but really to represent the veterans within the Sturgis community. And so we were very proud of that. I know, and Deb and I spoke, and the Colonel and I spoke, there was some, let's just say, individuals from outside who wanted to be a part of the parade with us. And we knew that the City Council and the Mayor, just the Sturgis riders, and we gave them that guidance. And some of them, I want to apologize on behalf of the whole American Legion. They were from other legions in the Black Hills. Their behavior was despicable. But the irony is they never reach out to us to go to the VA like we do every month to visit the old guys. They never reach out to us to go to Aspen Grove like we do every month to go visit the veterans there. So that kind of tells you their character. But the goal tonight was just to thank you, Mayor and City Council, for allowing us to lead that parade. And lastly, since the calendar year started, we've executed 15 dignified escorts for veterans from churches and funeral homes in the Black Hills, mainly Sturgis. Executed on top of that 32 community events, some of which I just discussed, where we visit the VA, the veterans out at long-term care, and take them a snack or a treat, and then also at Aspen Grove Union Center, we got all the country schools together and taught them why you stand for that great flag back there, and why you don't fly it at night without a light, and taught them flag etiquette, and we'll continue to do that. And I'll just conclude with, if any of the council, mayor, or any of the citizens of Sturgis or Meade County have any veteran in need, or any family of a veteran in need, and you think the American Legion Riders of Sturgis could assist that veteran or that family, please reach out to us. Pending your questions, that concludes my briefing, sir.
Well, thank you, and my apologies for identifying the group wrong as you
That's all
approached the
right, Mayor.
mic.
Yeah,
Thanks for all the good work in
Yes,
the
sir.
community.
appreciate it.
Anyone else have a non-agenda item that they'd like to address the council on? Hearing none, we'll continue to department updates. 6.1 is our August 2025 sales tax report.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. I'll just give an update on through August. I do want to start off with that we did make a mistake. When I say we, I mean I made a mistake on the last report I gave for July. We had it at 427,000, which in a sense is true. We get 2%. That was 2% of the general sales tax for that time frame. But this report is specific to the general fund, and only 1% goes to the general fund. The other 1% is split between capital improvements and the equipment replacement fund. So the 1% that went into the general fund is 213,672. So we did make that correction. For August, we're at 380,000, 454,000. Above last year, a little bit below 2023. If you look at from year to date, again, we're still just about 60,000 above where we were last year. If we were to make 70% of the next 4 months of what we earned in sales tax in 2024, we'll meet our budget projection for that 1% that you put down on the budget for 2025. And I think that's probably too low. I would say a conservative number would probably be around 90%. So if we can get 90%, if that trend continues in 2025, where our sales tax has been down a little bit on a couple different months, then I would say, we're probably going to be around that $2.8 million collected in that 1%. And we estimated 2.6. So, I'm reasonably confident that we're on track to be able to exceed what we projected for the budget for this year. If you go to the next one, looking at the triple B, that one is been tracking low all year. If you look at the 6-year report, that graph on the bottom right, and you can see where 2025 is and how that compares. It's more in comparison to 2020 and 2019 versus 21, 22, and 23. So that one's been, been relatively low all year, except for the first month. The first month was the best month that we'd ever had in January, but since February, it's been tracking downwards. But even with that, we're still, again, we're probably not going to make what we made in 2024 in that particular one. But the general 1% looks like we're on track for. So, pending any of your questions on the sales tax, that's all I have.
Aaron, was there any correction to make from last month's report on the triple B?
No.
Just in the...
Nope, just in the general sales tax.
Thank you. Any questions? Good news, it looks like we're going to meet our revenue projections and, maybe have a little cushion there.
A little bit.
Continuing on, 6.2 is our City Ordinance Committee report. Bonnie? We're going back to 6.1, I assume?
This is doing what it should do.
Bonnie Albers?
Okay. Bonnie Alberts from Sturgis. Two things I wanted to ask, and again, it's one of those questions that I know because I follow you all the time. But Aaron, that second page to the sales report, when you roll up there, has no label on it. Would you tell us what that page is? No, up. The next one, no, I guess down. No, there isn't one in there. Okay. When I open mine up, I get another. Oh no, I'm in the wrong place. Never mind, I take it back. My mistake. But what I do want to say, it addresses the sales tax. And, we're under fire all the time from opinions in the community. And I just want to take this opportunity to say that if we don't spend our money here, we don't have sales tax coming in here. And I almost did it myself this week because I was in Rapid City and I knew that gas was a lot less down there than it was up here, and I almost gassed down there, but I ran out of time, and I came back with my yellow light on, and I gassed at home because I thought, you know, put up or shut up. So I put up. And when you take those few cents times how many gallons you're putting in, and 20 is the most unless you're driving the big truck, is the most you're going to put in, and you figure out what that actually costs you to shop at home, it's really marginal. And I spend more on that than that on popping milk duds in a week's time. So I just want to speak to sales tax and say, if we want this budget to get made, if we want that sales tax to feed our needs, then we have to shop at home. We have to think more about what we're doing and act more intentionally. And I don't mean to be preachy. I'm just saying I had awakening when I almost gassed in Rapid.
You know, Bonnie, another opportunity is remote sales. And I think probably a lot of people know this, but not everybody. If you order something online from Amazon and that's delivered to your house here in Sturgis, that sales tax goes to Sturgis. If you order, you know, like my son, young father, doesn't have as much time, they order their food from Walmart and have it delivered to their house. That sales tax goes to Sturgis, not Spearfish. If
That's
you were
good
to
to know.
if you were to get some construction material down at Menards or Builder's First Source in Rapid City, but you have it delivered to Sturgis, that sales tax goes to Sturgis. Now, there are some remote sales. You have to hit 100,000 threshold if you don't have a brick and mortar type building in South Dakota, but Amazon does. They have a couple. So anything that you buy on Amazon, Sturgis is going to get that sales tax. When I've became aware of that, you know, I've started to feel much more comfortable about ordering stuff online instead of going to Rapid City or going to Spearfish. If I can get it through online and have the sales tax come to Sturgis, that's helpful. So just for everybody's information, you know, that's another way to be able to increase sales tax here in our community.
And that does help. Our issues aren't just about sales tax and you know, we all shop elsewhere sometimes. There are things we can't get in town. But I do know that when my insurance company is hammering at me constantly to order my drugs online, I cannot expect the pharmacy to be open when I need an antibiotic today if my maintenance drugs have come from somewhere else, just in the same field. But thank you, Aaron. It's good to know that because I do occasionally order online and feel terribly guilty, so now I can stop that.
Thank you, Bonnie. Yeah, we definitely want to support our local businesses if we can, every chance we can, so. 6.2 is the ordinance committee report. Eric, I believe you're going to provide that.
You doing that, Aaron, or am I? Looks like you are. Okay.
Well, that's my recollection. Do you want to change that up?
You know, I had a crazy week last week, so we'll just go with your recollection. I'm happy to give a report. It'll be really brief. The ordinance committee met. We've kind of been holding off on discussing some of the reports from American Legal until we had an opportunity to meet with them. But, you know, as you recall, I brought too much stuff. I'm not going to go get it for visuals, but after the city had initiated the recodification process with American Legal Publishing, we sent them a copy of our code. They sent us back about a 60-page editorial and legal review report to review. Contained almost 100 items, just little points as they were going through the ordinance. I'm not going to go through it all with you, but just a few categories, a lot of typos, a lot of references to older codes that had, like older versions of building codes that had been repealed. There were some questions about just a few things with recent legislation that came to the South Dakota legislature, updating some of our ordinances to reflect that, updating a few of our other ordinances to reflect up-to-date U.S. Supreme Court precedent. So what we did, and just my review and analysis of that report, and in spending quite a bit of time visiting with Aaron, we kind of brainstormed this idea and we brought it to the committee of trying to tackle this project in about 3 phases. You'll recall the last couple times I've visited with you about this project, I've used the term, and I think I had adopted it, stole it from Aaron, of eating this elephant, and it's a massive project, and how are we going to eat it, and that's how we ultimately decided it might be best to divide it up. So that seems to be the consensus of the committee, is to go with 3 phases. The first phase would be to adopt basically the existing code as it is now for Sturgis into American Legal's format. The immediate benefit of that is the code is going to be so much more user-friendly and accessible to the public. It will have cross-references to other sections of the code, to state law, to the ordinances that enacted this particular provision of the code, and at the same time will clean up any of those merely typographical errors that need to be fixed in just things that, numbers that were improperly transposed, things like that. Phase 2 would be kind of our initial entree into revising some of these problem areas of the code, addressing inconsistencies, making any revisions necessary for state law or Supreme Court precedent. Then phase 3 would be doing a more in-depth analysis, and the committee discussed creating subcommittees to with the council's direction, look at specific ordinances. Is this an ordinance that still makes sense for Sturgis? Does it need changed? Are there ordinances that we currently have on the books that aren't being used, aren't being enforced, that can be repealed? So it was an informal meeting of just kind of presenting that and getting the committee's take. I think the committee's really public on there that seem very engaged and ready to go. We're planning on having another meeting in a month. In the meantime, Aaron and I will be working on the city's response back to American Legal, and we'll begin implementing phase 1 as the committee starts turning their eyes towards phase 2 and phase 3 and making some plans there. And we did have some discussions about just what the process was going to look like, and the council created this ordinance committee as kind of an advisory committee, a working committee to work through some of these issues. So I think we envisioned that this committee would prepare reports, might prepare recommendations, do some work, and then all their work product would be coming up to the council with reports, with potentially a recommendation. But this is where the heavy lifting is going to be done, is with the council. So the committee doesn't have any authority, it doesn't exercise any sovereign powers. It's a recommendation working committee. And that's how we anticipate this going. So pending your questions, that's all I have.
Just a minor correction for sake of accuracy. We met on Wednesday, September 10th, not the 11th, just for the record.
Good to know. As I said, busy week. I apologize for that.
I think Eric is certainly going to be a heavy lift. Phase 1 is going to move pretty quickly. Phases after that definitely will take some time.
Yep.
Maybe years. Hopefully not.
It's going to be a fun project for if you're into that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Nothing else? Any questions? Questions or comments from the public? Item 7 is the mayor's report. Tonight on the report, we've got 4 ambulance staff members, 1 police officer change, 1 recreation staff, and of course, always the people that help us manage our animal shelter volunteers. We got some people that we add to make sure that they're covered under our work comp as they're volunteering in that. Pending no questions on those, I think we'll get to item 7.7, which is actually an actionable item. Any questions on those previous? Item 7.7 then is consideration to approve appointment of Eric Davis to serve as city attorney. Eric's contract is listed there. Eric has been working as a contract attorney for the majority of this year, and it's becoming apparent that we're needing more than that, especially given the heavy lift that we're approaching with ordinance updates and some of the other initiatives and projects that the council has us moving on. Eric, do you have anything to add to that?
Aaron, do you have anything you wanted to cover first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the council knows that the council decided to put out a request for proposals for qualified firms to come in as independent contractors and provide legal counsel for the city in the absence of an employed city attorney. For the past at least few years, the city has employed 2 full-time attorneys. When I came on board in a contract capacity in January, there were no attorneys. Council engaged with my firm. I've been trying to especially with the new council, with the new mayor, with the new city administrator coming in, trying to triage some major issues, provide legal counsel in the transition. And as the mayor said, now that we have 6-7 months under our belt, kind of an understanding of what's going on, it is become, and we've talked about this in the past, that I anticipated that it may become difficult for me as the needs of the city continued to grow and started going more towards looking at part-time or full-time legal counsel, which would certainly be the norm in a first-class municipality, that it's difficult for me to manage the remainder of my practice, the remainder of my clients, the remainder of my caseload, and also have one client with this hugely growing list of needs. And over the months, have had some discussions with Aaron about the possibility of coming in to provide some of that assistance as we start talking about recodification, as the mayor said, rally, other issues. Certainly, most first-class municipalities have a full-time city attorney. The way that we are approaching this, both as a way to accommodate me and a way to accommodate the city, is a reduced hour position that would include a reduced salary. Not sure that we're all the way up to needing a full-time position yet, and so that will be cost savings for the city and also good for my schedule. But I told you when I submitted my proposal and when you hired me that this was a project that I was passionate about and that I wanted to participate in, wanted to be able to give it my full time and attention, and now that we have that opportunity, I'm available for you if you would like to hire me.
Thank you, Eric. I guess I'd like to add to that this does fit into the existing budget, so there's no need for any future action supplements, those sorts of things at this point. So that's a positive in the decision as well. Anybody have anything to add? Aaron, did you have something you wanted to?
No, you hit the key point there, is that, with what we budget for 2025, we haven't spent, I think we've spent $40,000 out of $110,000 that we allocated towards legal consulting fees and whatnot. So you look at what his wage would be for the rest of the year, we'll be underneath that for that whole department.
Thank you. Anything else from council? This is an item that I'm hoping to see a motion and approval from the council on.
I'll second.
Got a first by Terry and a second by Nick to approve. Is there any further discussion?
Just real quick, page 13, item 3, where it says salary, just the written out number, $100,538.05 is not a real number, but I think you just accidentally put in the extra 5 there. Page 13. Page 13.
What paragraph?
The
Paragraph
3 starts with salary.
Yeah, it looks like there's an extra word. We'll get rid of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we need to amend the motion to cover that, or are we good with clarification on?
I think it's fine the way it is.
Okay. Any other discussion? Let's call for the vote. Those in favor of the hiring of Eric Davis as the city attorney indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That is carried unanimously. Thank you.
See you October 1st, and I'll be continuing to do basically what I've been doing till then.
Keep it on. Yeah, so item 8 is our consent agenda for the night. All the items in the consent agenda, 8.1, there's only 2 items, 8.2, are considered as one item. Is there anybody from council that wants to remove one of the 2 items and have it considered separately? How about members of the public? Is there one of those 2 items, 8.1 or 8.2, that they would wish to have considered separately? Bonnie?
Not necessarily considered, I'm just not clear about what it is. It's just setting, it's not past 8.2, it's just setting a hearing.
Setting a public hearing is 8.2 at a future meeting, October 7th. Okay. Having the consent agenda considered, both items, 8.1 and 8.2, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
A motion to approve.
Second.
We got a first by Ruth, a second by Mark to consider the consent agenda or approve the consent agenda. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Item 9 is approval of claims. There, I think there is an error there.
Those notices to the affected parties be sent out on that before that hearing?
There will be correspondence with those property owners as per our ordinance and has been our standard. That will go before the planning commission as well. There
Do you
is
need
a.
to amend
there-
the motion?
There is,
Amend it to the October 6th instead of the 7th? The public hearing goes to?
And it comes to us.
okay, item 9, approval of claims. Anybody have any questions? Claims. Notice that we do have the council bills and as is the, what's been happening at least since just after the rally, we have our salary portions included as well. Anybody have any?
Yeah, why is fuel on there again under the airport from? The fuel is back on the claims from 2 weeks ago? Under airport?
What page are you on?
Page 8.
Are you looking at the airport fuel?
Yeah, we discussed this 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Oh, the dualies, is that the one you're
Yeah.
talking about? I know we had another bill. Did we take that one off? Didn't we take the one off?
Well, one was a missed bill.
Okay. I'm not sure on this
Rick,
one.
you
I
got any
guess.
insight
Let
on that?
me- Do you know?
We didn't have any new airport claims this period.
Okay, I'll have to check into that. I don't know what happened there. I'll have to check with Robin. Do we want to remove them?
I could pull up the one from 2 weeks ago.
15,005.
Turned out to be a credit last time, didn't it? Wasn't that what we were, a double billed or something
Yeah.
last time?
One of them, the 9-1 was for sure. 8-1.
Yeah.
Well, the minutes from the meeting last time shows that Aaron announced the correction that the claim for $15,850 should have been removed. And that's what was approved last time.
Okay. I'm not sure how that got back on there. I'll have to double check with Robin.
Okay, so we would be removing those 2 claims from any potential
19.
approval.
Well, the 25, okay, so it was, 19,395 and then 15,850. So it would just be the 15,850 would need removed, I believe.
You mean 15,580?
850.
850.
Did I transpose that? Yes, I did, 850. Sorry.
So 25,500 looks like a backdated invoice.
Rick, does that look good to you? It's July 15th for $25,500. Any? Yeah, I know. We're all on the spot.
Well, let's approve the claims and remove those 2. We have another meeting coming up on the 29th.
Okay.
So approval of the claims would be for a total of $41,350. Did I do the math right on that? We remove that amount from the total bottom line?
Kevin,
Well, it's from July, so. Are we okay with tabling this until after Board of Adjustment? Give a chance to have this clarified in a few minutes here. Somebody willing to motion to table until after Board of Adjustment?
Everything needs to be approved, just not to pay the
Okay.
I'll make the motion to amend it or to table it till after the Board of Adjustment.
I think he found it.
I think we're on board now. I was pressing for the time thing, so we weren't sitting around doing anything, but it looks like we're looking to approve the claims minus the $15,850 claim from Dooley's Petroleum. Good with that? Okay. Council, is there any other questions? If not, is somebody willing to make a motion approving the claims minus the $15,850 from Dooley's Petroleum?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Okay, we've got a first and a second to approve the claims minus the $15,850 claim under airport. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Item 10 is Board of Adjustments for variance, use on review, or other administrative appeals. We're going to adjourn this council meeting, form the Board of Adjustment, and take up the two items that are within that. Are we
Are you in the Board of Adjustments?
motioning that? Eric, do we motion the move to Board of Adjustment?
It doesn't need to be motion, Kevin.
Okay.
Mayor, you can just adjourn the meeting, move into Board of Adjustment, and move to 10.2.
Yeah, so we're certainly in the Board of Adjustment then. We're on to 10.2. That's the declaration of conflicts of interest and/or communication by members of the board with the parties. Nobody declaring any conflicts? Continuing on to 10.3, we reordered there is consideration for use on review for an in-home business located at 2608 Cottontail Drive.
Thank you, Mayor. Up for consideration tonight is the use on review for an in-home business at 2608 Cottontail Drive for a seasonal landscaping company. The applicant proposes to operate a seasonal landscaping company within the residence at this address. The property is currently zoned under Title 18. An at-home business is a retail or commercial business offering goods, services, or services in a residentially zoned district. Certain at-home businesses require a use on review and are reviewed annually. The triggers for a use on review could be any of the following, which is including non-resident employees, on-site customers, visible inventory or storage, increase is in traffic, noise or odor, safety concerns, state or federal the residential camping and leasing is not an ineligible at-home business. The applicant, Clear Sites Services LLC, Mr. James Brown, is requesting the approval to operate a landscaping and lawn care business. The residents at this address would primarily serve as the business mailing address or / office with an occasional work vehicle driven home and possibly an occasional trailer. Staff did send out landowner notification to all the properties located within 200 feet of the property and displayed the signage on the property notifying of the public hearing for the use on review that was held September 3rd, 2025 at the regularly scheduled City Planning Commission meeting. Owner James Brown did attend the meeting and addressed his business operations. Mr. Brown stated that his equipment was on a property located in Nemo, and that he would like to use his residence only as a mailing or a business office, and occasionally parking a pickup or a trailer at the property. Planning Commission made the motion to recommend approval of the use on review at 2608 Cottontail to the Board of Adjustments.
Questions?
Mr. Brown is here if you have any questions of him as well.
Any questions? Someone willing to motion this use on review?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We got a first by Ruth, a second by Tony to approve. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Item 10.3 is carried.
Am I confused, but don't we usually see like the neighborhood response when we have a use of review?
It was in there.
We send out certified mailings per the ordinance. I don't know where we ever got on the process of issuing a vote, and if people didn't respond, that was a vote. There's nowhere in our ordinance that covers that, so we are not gonna do that. If they're noticed that the public hearing takes place and they have an opportunity to come both to the public hearing or to the council, and they can speak their piece in front of the council or the planning commission, and they will take that under consideration. But I don't know where we ever got on this vote deal, but it's not in the ordinance.
Satisfied?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and that's curious, because we've done so many of these, and we've been through the thing about the value of the property and the weight of the vote, and the reporting of who responded, who didn't respond, and the ayes and nays. So, that was never justified?
That is the truth there, that that was never part of our ordinance, and we did not ever ratify that into ordinance. Just as we didn't create a form for camping.
We know why some are in yellow. For those returns,
I don't know what yellow highlighting means on that list.
I was curious about the yellow as well.
Okay. Are we ready to continue?
We're ready.
8.4 is a consideration to approve use on review for in-home business located at 1500 Whitetail Drive.
So this is a use on review for a home business at 1500 Whitetail, which is just around the corner, is about 4 houses away from the last one. Similar, the applicant proposes to operate a seasonal landscaping company. The applicant is Orange Rock LLC, which is Justin Judding. He's requiring approval to operate a landscaping and lawn care business that would primarily serve as the business mailing address with occasional work vehicles. Staff sent landowner notifications to all the properties within 200 feet of this property, displayed the signage on the property to notify of the public hearing on this use on review that was held September 3rd, 2025 at the Planning Commission meeting. Representation from the owner, Justin Judding, was not present at the hearing. There was some neighboring properties that did come and present concerns over the amount of equipment that was stored on the property, and that there was a strong odor of some chemicals in the neighborhood. I did check when I was up there. There was a spraying unit up there located on the property. I did check with the DNR's commercial applicator site, and Mr. Judding does not have a commercial applicator's license, so that would be one thing that we would certainly have to work out. I don't see Mr. Judding in the audience, but I do believe the neighbors are present if they want to come up and give any testimony. Not to put you on the spot.
I'm Dan Boy. I own the house next door in Badger. We have it currently rented out, and the renters have expressed some concerns about the odor. As to what it is, we don't know. I mean, everybody sprays their yard, so you're gonna get that. But it is a lot more frequent from that property. There's also a lot of four-wheeler parked in the yard right at currently, and several trailers that have spray equipment on them that don't move. As of excuse me, the meeting we attended to last meeting, we were informed, and I didn't know this, that 48 hours is the standing time after that vehicles need to move. And apparently there's several trailers that have been there for weeks on end. The big concern is the chemical. For me, we don't live there. Whether we're gonna move back, I don't know, but I do own the house, and I have great people that rent from me. Is it a safety hazard? I don't know what the chemicals are that he's storing there. He's building another shed, or is he storing the chemicals in that? We don't know. It's just a safety concern as far as I know.
Thank you for your comment, Dan.
I actually went up and looked at the property and got with Rick. I had some concerns of all the on-street parking. And I asked Rick if he had any concerns on snow removal, and I think we have some concerns about how many vehicles are.
Just a little background, I should have said it before. I believe both of these use on reviews came forward, must have came forward because of some complaints, and they were forwarded to get a use on review from the code enforcement officers who made initial contact and sent them forward. So that is what started the process. Planning Commission did, however, recommend approval on this use on review to the board.
Thank you, Rick.
Snow removal on that corner has never been very good. Even when there's no vehicles. We lived there for 15 years. And the neighbors and I would move it with a skid steer and try and get, more room for the people, but it's a bad corner for the city to try and blow snow on.
Bonnie, you had a comment. Would you approach the microphone here?
Bonnie Alberts. I guess I would like to hear and understand some of the process that the committee is going through. I mean, there's clearly some radical differences between these two requests, yet both of them are approved. And I'm not really comfortable when we say, well, we got a little problem with this and a little problem with that. We'll have to work that out, but yet you're going to approve it tonight. I don't think those things should be approved until those issues are worked out. And one thing very different in these two applications is one made a clear statement of where his equipment is kept and stored, and the other one has disclosed nothing of that, and it appears that it's stored on the property, and I'm not sure that all fits in with our neighborhood expectations and what we want to allow in variances. So I just would like to understand the justification and the decision to approve both of these.
I don't think we've approved the second one yet, Bonnie.
No, but the recommendation is to approve, and we have a tendency to move forward and accept the recommendation of that committee's work and go ahead and approve. And I just think that there are some questionable things popping up on this one. And no, I haven't done my homework. I haven't done the drive-by. I have no idea where it is, but I'm just thinking, my goodness, if this were my block, I would be having some concerns.
Thank you, Bonnie. Does anyone else have a comment that they'd like to make?
How often can they apply for these use on reviews, Rick?
So the use on review is good for 1 year, and then if there are no complaints or any issues brought forward within that year, they yearly go back to the Planning Commission and get approved and won't ever come back to the council. If there's issues with it, then it will come back to the council for your guys' review in 1 year.
But let's say something's denied. Can they come back the next month? Is there a waiting period? Is
There
it,
typically is 1 year unless there's a substantial difference in what their application is. And that's for a variance. For a use on review, you have a 1 year period, and when you can apply, unless there's substantial differences in the application.
Thank you, sir. Would you approach the mic there and state your name?
My name is Keith Whitford. I live at 2604 Cottontail Drive, just around the corner from Justin Judding. And I have a problem with having a business here. The odor from his chemicals some days is so bad, you can't stand outside. You can't sit outside. You go in the house and close the doors. The noise before this was started with his power washers or his pumps, whatever, was obnoxious. He's got this little stand that he blocks the sidewalk, which has actually been there all day, blocking the public sidewalk. Shouldn't be there. And what I want to know is, does his business require a MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet, and does he have that on hand? Also, does South Dakota require him to have an applicator's license, and does he have that? And I think for the most part, his truck with the chemicals and the water is parked on Badger Drive 24/7. It's always there. And there's a few of us that don't want that business there at all.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else that wishes to make a comment?
I'll make one. My name's Roger O'Grady. I don't need a mic.
Well, it's for the people that are watching us on YouTube.
My name is Roger O'Grady. I live at 2605 Badger, 2 houses up. I live next door to Dan Boy. He moved out. I still live there. My wife was walking the other day, yesterday, and he was dumping chemicals in his tank for tree spray and whatever, and it was running out on the ground. Where does this stuff go? The poison. Goes in the drains, right? Where does that go? Oahe Reservoir, where it winds up? That ain't right. I mean, the kid hasn't never done anything to me, but his stuff is all, you can't walk on the sidewalk, you gotta walk in the street. He's got stuff parked where that house is, across the street here, up the street where I live. That white trailer never moves. I mean, I don't have a problem with the kid. I have a problem with his business. And Dan, they're right, it stinks. But what are you gonna do? I mean, I can't do anything. I come down here and tell you. So it's in your lap.
Thank you, Mr. O'Grady.
You're welcome.
See, Mr. Judding came in. Are you able to answer any questions?
So to answer some of the questions, I do have MSDS sheets. I keep them electronically. I do have a commercial applicator's license through the state of South Dakota, which is valid until March of this upcoming year of 26, and I have to recertify. Part of the reason that stuff is, first of all, that trailer is only there right now because of football, so I carry football equipment in it for youth football. I moved it, emptied it the other day, and now it'll be going back up to my land that I own in the county. The side of the house is tore up next to where the four-wheelers are because I did a call before you dig, that area there, to put a paved driveway in over there and hit the street light. I called that in last September, and I told them that I was going to pave it. They didn't come. I called it back in to call before you dig in December, January. And then again in May, I called them to get that line because if I pour concrete or asphalt that side, they have to tear up the asphalt or concrete before I can do anything. They finally came and fixed it in July this summer, and I was very busy, so I haven't had time to do anything with it. And the plan is to hard surface that this fall, so there is a driveway on that side of the house. So yeah, there's things that aren't in place right now because I've been waiting for that to get fixed so that I can finalize that driveway and I can store more of my vehicles there. Realistically, I have 10 trailers registered in the county, and they all stay up at my land. I have 4 pickups registered, that Cadillac, my Malibu, they're all registered, they're all running vehicles. Most of the time I store them up at my house. I have talked to the code enforcer, and sometimes I bring stuff home and park it there because as a tax-paying citizen, I should be able to park stuff at my house. And I'm tired of the code enforcement where people can call me in anonymously and I have to answer to that without the ability of knowing what that complaint is or why they're upset about it. So there's times that I do bring trailers home and leave them there, and I never violate the city ordinances. I'm very fluid with the city ordinances. I used to work with Dave Smith, so I'm very well aware that they have to be moved. So I move them in compliance. They have to be moved off the city street on a private property and back on within those guidelines. So I make sure that I'm constantly in compliance with that. All of the chemicals that I spray are all pet safe, so they do no harm to pets. Literally, the provider that gets me the chemicals said that you can pretty much drink the chemicals that I spray. You just can't eat the plastic bottle because the plastic is worse for you than the chemicals that I spray. Now, I'm not licking the chemicals that I spray because I know that they're chemicals. I talked to the code enforcer now when he told me that somebody had complained that I'm dumping chemicals on the ground. The chemicals that I spray because they're pet safe are $400 for 2 gallons. I'm not dumping it on the street. It's getting applied on stuff that I'm being paid to apply it to. The chemicals are too expensive to put on the ground. And I have to follow South Dakota state law on disposing of those chemicals.
Justin, can I ask, there were several questions regarding the smell.
The nitrogen might have a smell to it. Nothing to me seems that potent, but and if it is a real problem and my neighbors would come talk to me, I'd go park my pickups on my land that I have in the county. But the problem is they don't come and talk to me. They contact the code enforcer, and I have these people around me that won't talk to me, and they're my friends around me, and then they go to Dave Smith or the code enforcement officer. So part of that is me just being ornery because I pay taxes and I have a right and I stay within the city ordinances. But if the smell is that much of a problem, the pickups will go up to my land with chemicals in them. And to me, if approve it or don't approve it is kind of a moot point to me, because if it's not approved, I will just move the business address to my land, and that will be my address, but the pickups will come home then because I have the right to have a pickup there.
You have more than one pickup, Justin.
I have 4 or 5 pickups.
The tank truck does not sit on the street 24/7.
We'll stay on the topic. Any questions for Justin from the council here?
I will say, when I had a daily radio program, we took calls occasionally, had an attorney on the air, and one of the things that comes up are neighbor issues like this, and one of the, almost exclusively, it was because there was no communication. And so I don't know, have you gentlemen, have you had a chance to talk to Justin about that, or?
No, I haven't. As you can tell by his attitude tonight, he is stubborn. I kind of got that impression when he first moved in the neighborhood. He was kind of a stubborn fella, and I don't think he wants to talk to people.
Rick,
Well, it sounds busy.
Rick, you have concerns on snow removal and all the, I mean, when I went up and looked at it, it looked like Wow, I don't even think
Yeah,
the
there-
postman can get in there to put mail in.
There's a lot of, and I've been up there multiple times since we received the application, and every time that I went up there, there was some new stuff, some stuff had moved, but there was some stuff that's been there more than 48 hours for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm only gonna plow as close as I can get, and what's parked on the curb is probably getting plowed in.
Yep.
So, I mean, it behooves you to move it when I plow. I would like to have a copy of your applicator's license, because when I looked on the state website, I did not find you on there. So if you could get that for us, we can add that to the file. But like he said, a lot of what he's doing, and again, I'm not the code enforcement officer, so he applied for a in-home business, and that's what's being presented tonight, not necessarily violations or not. Those will happen through another channel. What's up for consideration tonight is allowing him to have an in-home business.
I guess my biggest concern would just be smell, but it sounds like you would be willing to take all of your stuff other than your one vehicle you're currently driving to your property?
Yeah.
And that could be a consideration. I mean, you guys have the ability to approve these with
And that would
stipulations.
relieve the smell or,
Like, I don't have a problem if somebody's willing to communicate with me. I've been in education for 20 years. I talk to people all the time. All my evaluations come back positive from my students. Like, I run the youth football organization here. I have very positive interactions with a lot of people. But if you don't communicate with me, and he's right, I'm stubborn. I just naturally stubborn, and I'm going to fight for what I know is right for me. If you communicate, I will fix the problem. I don't have a problem fixing the problem, and I will figure out whatever it takes.
I would be willing to make a motion to approve it with the understanding that you would take all the extra stuff to your land, address the chemicals and, address the smell and
Concerns of the neighbors with pets. And those things have changed also. From my understanding, MSDS, you must have a paper copy in the trailer at your business. Unless that's changed, you must have that MSDS paper copy at your premises.
I'll,
Just on your phone.
And now they're SDS sheets. They're no longer MSDS sheets. And if you can electronically access them, that is an acceptable method now.
But if you're injured on the job, your phone's not accessible, how's anyone gonna know? That's why they require an MSDS sheet. Anybody has access to it.
Eric, I have a question about the motion that Jesse made. Is that clear enough to be acted upon?
I'd second.
Okay,
Well, would the neighbors, is that acceptable for you guys? Dan, Roger, and Keith?
If he takes it outside of town, absolutely fine. I don't wanna shut him down, I just want.
You'd just rather see the address be a business address than a working address.
Okay, we've got a first by Jesse and a second by Jim to approve the conditional use permit with the conditions, help me with this, that the excess vehicles are moved off of the property, or the chemical carrying vehicles? What, I mean, is. And the chemicals?
well, yeah, I mean, if the smell's coming from, I have no idea. If there's a 200-gallon chemical tank stored there, I mean, that's probably the source of the smell, right? I mean, I have no idea. I would like to see you be able to continue to operate and address the neighbors' concerns as well.
Okay, so we've got a first and a second to continue discussion. Bonnie's got something to add here. You got to come up to the microphone, Bonnie.
I just want to offer a simple point of sensibility that there's an obvious discrepancy between the actions and the request. And the request is for an office mailing address. It has nothing to do with any activity of carrying out the business. All this request is to use that address as the business office for this business. So it's difficult to understand why there would be any pouring of chemicals, any filling of anything, any leaving of loaded vehicles on the property. That's not what the request is for. Our first request was a simple request to use that home address as the office. And if you read up there, as I was struggling because I didn't want to bring the computer up, but serve as a business mailing address office with occasional work vehicles driven home. No activity of the business going on there at all. And I think that's the rub. That sounds to me like the rub with the neighbors, is that there is the activity of the business, the execution of the business going on in the neighborhood on the property. The request is for an office site.
Okay, any
Yes,
further?
I just thought maybe my motion kind of followed along those lines, Bonnie. Maybe not as clear as you put it, but
I didn't think the motion was clear, that a sharp cut.
Okay, we've got a first and a second to approve the conditional use of permit with conditions on amount of vehicles and chemicals. Is there any further discussion?
Well, Mayor, we should have, then, if that's the case, we should have a follow-up. If we do approve that tonight, as Justin has requested, there should be something either through Donovan or Rick where we can see that that in fact has taken place, and that what the report from the neighbors.
We can certainly work with them to make sure that everything gets taken care of. And again, if there are any complaints or violations, that would be a consideration on the renewal forthcoming. It would come back to you guys. So we can certainly, both Donovan and I can work with Justin and try and get things taken care of.
Good with that?
Revocation for a year.
I would think that we could revocate it at any time. It will come back automatically within a year if there's any, I mean, it'll have to come back yearly.
Everybody clear on the motion and the second? I'm going to go ahead and call the question. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. That motion is carried. Thank you, Rick. We're now going to adjourn as Board of Adjustment and hearings. 11.1 is consideration to approve resolution 2025-34 for First Interstate Bank food truck food drive.
Yeah, this is, we got two requests here. We got a special event and use of city property, which is, Harley Point, and also a event street closure. And that street closure would be from Main Street down to the alley, essentially everything between Rally Point and Oasis. Part of the request is for some picnic tables, and we also have some totes. From a staff perspective, no issues supporting this particular request. I do know we have some folks out in the audience from First Interstate Bank on this, so if you do have questions, they could probably provide you more enlightenment on that.
Well, I think for clarification, this is Friday of homecoming, and involves homecoming activities as we lead into the homecoming parade.
this is a great project.
Yeah. This is on the agenda as one item, but is there two actions there? Are we approving both of them at the same time?
Two actions approved at the same time.
Okay. So the resolution is the use of the city street. Let's take that up first. Is there any questions or concerns on that, or somebody willing to motion Resolution 2025-34?
I'd make that motion.
Second.
Got a first by Nick, a second by Mark to approve the resolution allowing use of the street. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Second part of the action is Rally Point. Use of Rally Point, and I'm assuming waiving the fee of Rally Point. Aaron, can you clarify that?
Yes.
Is that correct, Carrie?
I'm Brian Hankey, the president of First Interstate Bank. Financial services representative at First Interstate Bank, and she's our commitment to community coordinator, and she can speak to our project.
I did not consider Rally Point because I didn't think that you needed to reserve that. But no, just the street, and the picnic tables will be in the street, and the Rally Point will be just for the parade goers or whoever.
Okay, so some clarification on that. So there really is
Yeah,
no...
within the application note, I think Robin maybe put this in there, it has Rally Plaza, because I think they understood that you wanted to use it. So they did include that within the request. So should be good to go there.
If it flows over, then is there, I'm hoping there's 100 people there, so if it flows over, is it a problem? No? Okay.
Any questions or concerns from council? Someone willing to motion, including the language about the fee involved with that?
A motion to approve,
Second.
Minus the fee?
minus the fee.
We've got a first by Jesse, a second by Jim to approve the use of the Rally Point area and some associated items, picnic tables, trash cans, those sorts of things with no fee. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gonna be a
Any
good event.
questions on what's going on, though? All good with it? All right, come and join us.
Thank you, council.
We're looking forward to a solid game that night. We're going to be 4-0 after this. All right, continuing on. Item 12 is reports. 12.1 is a consumption permit for the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum for an event this coming Saturday, September 20th.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, this is for an event at the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum this weekend is stated, and they're asking for a consumption permit for that activity only.
Thank you, Lance. Any questions from council? These are pretty routine for us anymore.
Move to approve.
Second.
We got a first by Nick, a second by Terry to approve the consumption permit on September 20th at the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. 12.2 is another consumption permit, same location, Sturgis Motorcycle Museum for their open house on December 2nd.
That's correct, and this is the second year that the museum has requested a consumption permit for Giving Tuesday.
Thank you, Lance.
That is December 2nd. December.
That's correct.
I'll move to approve.
First by Mark, second by Alex to approve the consumption permit for the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum December 2nd. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Item 12.3 is consideration to award the Sturgis Roof Replacement Project.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Up for consideration tonight is to award the Sturgis Roof Replacement Project. As you recall, back in 2019, the city of Sturgis sustained significant roof damage to multiple municipal facilities during a storm event. Among the most impacted structures were the community center and the city hall. both which suffered substantial hail-related damage to the portions of their roofing systems. We did make a claim with South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, and after consulting with them and to move the project forward, the City of Sturgis did retain Upper Deck Architecture and Design to prepare plans, specifications, and bid documents necessary for these roof repairs. A formal public bid was held on September 9th, 2025, where the city received 6 competitive bids with prices ranging from $532,723 down to $292,669. Following a detailed review, Upper Deck Architecture and Design, in coordination with the city staff, we evaluated the bid submissions for accuracy, completeness, and compliance with the project specifications. Based on this evaluation, both the consultant and the staff recommend awarding this project to Black Hills Roofing for their total base bid of $292,669.00, which represents the lowest responsible bid. This recommendation ensures that the project will be completed in a cost-effective manner while maintaining the quality and standards necessary to protect these important community facilities. Staff would recommend that the council authorize the mayor or the city manager to sign all contracts and documents necessary to have these projects completed. The total budget impact is the bid for $292,669 and the professional service agreement with Upper Deck Architecture for $37,673 for a total project price of $330,342. This is lower than what the insurance estimate was. With that, I'd answer any questions.
Rick, I have a couple of quick
Sure.
questions. The first is that is Upper Deck providing the project management then on the?
They are doing oversight of the project, not full construction administration, but they are managing the project.
And help me understand, I mean, have we received a payment already from our insurance company?
We did when we made the claim, and I forget, Kevin, if it was direct. We had several buildings that were damaged, and a lot of them were public works buildings, and we repaired those. There was a lot of well buildings that had shingles that received damage, and we repaired those. I believe we received those monies shortly after in either late 2019 or early 2020. And it was a partial payment, like an insurance. They pay you part up front, and then when you get the work done, they'll give you the full reimbursement.
Basically, the recoverable depreciation is
Yes.
coming our way. So we do have an obligation to cover probably some funds that haven't
Yeah.
not necessarily been protected.
This would have to come out of the capital improvement fund, for sure.
Okay.
So we're not looking at paying this whole 330,000.
The biggest share of it, yes.
Any questions from council?
Can we still recover that depreciation? Have you? As an
I
insurance company?
haven't looked. I've been so long since I've looked at the insurance. This got handed off to me, and I believe what we received already is substantially what the bid is. So I would go on the record of saying we're going to be eligible and liable for the entire amount.
Rick, this might be naive of me, but I mean, when we had the hail problem at our housing unit, which I'm the overseer at least of that, we got that. It took a while, but maybe only a year and a half. How come we're so far behind on this one?
We failed, the staff failed to follow through and get the bids put out and get the project put out to bid.
Did we lose? Was there any damage as a result of waiting?
Certainly. So when we went back and I got in this, like I said, got kind of put on my plate, and I got back in touch with the insurance, we had them come out and do another walkthrough with us, and We did that earlier this year, and there was certainly at the time, there was more damage because we've had more hail since 2019. And so they had to go back and reevaluate. They did a new estimate and evaluation on both of the roofs because there was more damage. And that's what really brought this forward. But again, I think based on the bid amounts that we've got, we've already recovered that amount, so we're going to pay for it.
I think it's important for the public to know that there wasn't necessarily you or your staff, or we had a lot of upheaval in management over that time.
Certainly, we should have followed through with it long ago, but unfortunately that didn't happen, and now this is the means and methods to get the roofs fixed, because they do leak.
Thank you.
Leak badly.
Yeah.
We did have problems at the fire hall too, did we not?
We've got some problems with the fire hall. The fire hall there was never an insurance claim made on that roof. And when I had it evaluated here last year, it didn't necessarily have hail damage as much as it just had some, those tin roofs. You've got to caulk around all of the pipes, and the screws have to be redone. And again, not trying to point anything, but it was basically lack of maintenance, and it had gone so long that now we probably are going to be looking at replacing that roof as well. But we had not ever made a insurance claim on that roof.
Thank you.
You know, just a couple of comments. You know, one of the things that Rick and I have talked to the mayor about implementing for 2026 is we've always had a buildings budget, but the buildings budget was only specific to a couple buildings. It did not encompass everything that we had. And so part of the intent here was that we would put all buildings underneath one department, that they would have responsibility to have an understanding of the good, the bad, and ugly for each of those buildings, and not necessarily divide that responsibility up. So that's going to be underneath Public Works, underneath Rick. It will specifically be underneath the Parks Superintendent, Cody King. So the intent is going in 2027, you know, everything budget will be, most everything for the buildings will be within that budget. If it's very specific for a certain building, and it's the only one that has that, it would probably remain in their particular budget. But we'll have a person that will be responsible communicating to Rick and to myself, have an understanding of the status of all our buildings and our facilities.
Okay, back to the contract. Again, means of finance is capital improvement, which is a portion of our sales tax funds. Of course, definitely a piece that we fit in. I mean, we're a little bit hamstrung by this, but you know, we can't let these buildings degrade, so.
Motion to approve. I'll second.
Okay, we've got a first by Alex, a second by Nick to approve the contract for the roof replacement on the community center and the city hall building here, funded through the capital improvement funds. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Okay, that motion is carried. Hopefully we get a leak-free roof. 12.4 is consideration of a memorandum of agreement and 2-year road work and maintenance agreement to transfer roads from Meade County to the city of Sturgis. I'm going to just jump right out. This is an outcome of recent legislation that places any road that the city and county join in the city's care.
That's a good synopsis. It seems like we've been working with the county on this almost as long as we've been trying to get those roofs replaced. But certainly have gone back and forth, and actually we have been working on this even longer than when that legislation was enacted, which does require any secondary roads on the boundary of a municipality to be assigned to the municipality. Those roads that we're looking at, that we're talking about, that would be included in this transfer are about a half a mile of Alder Place. Avalanche Road, which is about 1.37 miles, which is basically from 15th Street all the way up to the landfill. Alkali Road, 1.35 miles, which is basically follows our airport because the airport is part of the city that was annexed in as city property. So that portion of the road that's along the airport, the Whitewood Service Road, which is 1.3 miles from Lozelle Street to the city limits. We pretty much take care of that anyways. And then Binocker Canyon from the Pineview Drive and Junction Avenue, about 1.5 miles out towards Belgeolet. So upon the transfer and the signing of this agreement, the city would assume all full responsibility for maintenance, repair, and all associated costs, which would be any overlays, any gravel, any dust prevention, any mag water, things of that nature. They've also, that would be effective October 1. This is going to be, if the council decides to approve this, this will go to the council tomorrow, or to the commission tomorrow. They've also offered a 2-year road work and maintenance agreement to go along with that. And really what that would do is ensure that we have a smooth transition between now and when we fully take over those responsibilities. Some of the key provisions in that would be for the remainder of this year, the county is going to perform all scheduled maintenance, snow removal, and mowing on those roads. They agreed to that because they had already had that in their budget. We didn't have it in ours. So again, it just makes sense that they would continue that through the course of the year. Starting January 1 of 2026, the county will continue snow plowing and the ditch mowing through the roads, and limited assistance on the non-through roads as staffing allows. The city's responsibilities would be for the immediate major repairs. Beginning in 2026, we would assume full responsibility for routine maintenance, surface treatments, and ongoing upkeep. And we could coordinate for the county. We can coordinate with their bidding processes if we wanted to do projects with them, or we could actually elect to have them perform the dust control, mag chloride, and we would just pay them their per foot fee. We probably makes more sense for us to do that, so I don't see that becoming an issue. The coordination, the county must provide us with a 1-year notice of planned improvements. So primarily this would be on the portion of the road out by the airport, because there's going to be a county section before it and county after it. And if they would decide, hey, we're going to come in and chip and seal that road, they would give us a year's notice so that we could plan and get that into our budget so that we could partake and be a part of that bid. So all of those things sound really good. Like I said, we've been working on it for quite a while, since back when, I mean, like I said, before the legislation even happened, we've known that Sly Hill was going to end up being ours. We tried to, if you guys, some of you remember, were around when we ended up having to close Sly Hill, and Avalanche and Bear Butte became the main thoroughfares. That's what really started these discussions happening. And they've just kind of always circulated, but it seems like everybody's on board to move forward with these. And we certainly, I don't have any objections to it, and our recommendation would be that you approve those.
Thank you, Rick. It certainly helped push things along on the speed of things after the law was changed. So.
Yeah.
Any questions from council? Somebody willing to make a motion to act on this?
I'll move to approve.
Ooh, you guys are simultaneous.
Alex can have it.
Okay, we've got a first by Alex, a second by Mark to approve this memorandum of agreement and 2-year road work and maintenance agreement to transfer roads from Meade County to the city of Sturgis. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Item 12.5, consideration of use of city property by Sturgis Soccer Association for the 2025 soccer tournament on September 26th through 28th.
Yeah, so up for consideration, the Sturgis Soccer Association will be hosting its annual fall tournament, the 26th through the 28th of September. As in prior years, the association is requesting authorization to utilize the city parking lot adjacent to the soccer fields, which is on the east end, and the access road in for tournament parking, with vehicle access restricted for the duration of the event. This year, the association plans to increase the available parking capacity from approximately 75 parking spots to 125 to better accommodate the number of teams and spectators expected. In addition, new request is being made for the placement of barriers along the grass line adjacent to the bike path. I believe we did that last year as well, to discourage people from parking over the top of the bike path. We have had some people complain about that are using the bike path and not being able to get there because we've had cars parked over that. So we'll be using some temporary fencing and barriers to help preserve those grounds. As in the previous years, all other nearby parking areas will remain open and available for public use at no cost. We will be providing some additional support for the event, which does include the placement of those metal panels, additional garbage collection services. We'll have some, we'll stock the restroom facilities. And then we are still going to have the traffic signal at Lizelle and Nelly is still going to be activated. Along with, we'll install some handicap parking as well, some signs. The approval, staff is recommending approval of this. I know that Rochelle is here from the Soccer Association. If you have any specific questions, either I can answer or she can be sure to answer. But we don't see any issues with it. Again, this, I think, is the fourth year we've done this now, third or fourth year.
I think it's the third year we've done it for the fall season, yeah.
And I know in the past, I mean, the council has had concerns brought forward to them. I mean, it's very busy down there. Every inch of space is used. I believe they have, the Buccaneers are having a football tournament that same weekend, at least on Saturday.
So it's not, the Buccaneers will be having a game on Saturday, and then later in the afternoon, the high school boys will also be hosting Pier that weekend, or that Saturday, for a JV and varsity game down there on Woodle. So
Definitely a busy time, which is good for the city, and our goal is just to make sure that we can keep everybody safe.
Like, any other questions? Same old, we do it year in and year out. Looking for another great season. We have teams coming from Wyoming, North Dakota, East River, all coming. We closed registration late last night and just ready to roll. Bring in a little bit of an economy boom for our community.
Yeah, definitely nice. I guess, is there any way in a parking crunch, which potentially we're going to have that on Saturday, that the overflow, the non-pay to park team can actually park over by Lions Club? Is that acceptable?
They do already, so that is part of it. So
The problem becomes getting them across the road safely. That's why we've permitted from the DOT to leave the Nelly Street traffic signal active. Hopefully people will go up there and use the crosswalk. You know, the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Because along the soccer fields, we do have that 6-foot chain link fence, so they've got to go all the way around to get around that anyways. But everything on that side of the road will be used, I guarantee.
yeah. So all along Lizelle on the Lions Club will be used, and then they'll park up by the pavilion on top as well and walk down and across. They'll fill all the way up past Woodle onto the city park, up past there, and park all the way up there. It'll be hard getting around that area on Saturday. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm excited for it, because
Yeah, well, it is exciting, I guess. I mean, hopefully, though, there's not we do have an agreement of parking lot use with the school for their games, right? So that
Yeah, so we're in talks with the school. We continue to stay in talks with the athletic director, Jade, out there. And we know it's going to be a little bit of a cluster. We'll do our part with the Sacco family, and he'll do his part with the school buses and whatnot. We're aware of it. Unfortunately, that weekend, Pierre had to reschedule their soccer games, and that was the only weekend available for Sturgis to play off with Pierre. So the high school had to do what they had to do. So,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Thank you. Good work.
thanks.
Anybody have any questions or concerns?
Could we block some spots off for buses? I mean, do we do that already?
I would guess that the school will have some areas coned off for the buses.
I move to approve.
A second.
Yeah, first by Nick, a second by Alex to approve this use of city property by the Sturgis Soccer Association. Is there any further discussion? Bonnie? You gotta come up, Bonnie.
I was just wondering, I mean, I don't know anything about the soccer. I was just wondering about the time frames and the overlap and the getting out time. Are we going to hit and everybody leaving at the same time like we did? When was that? When I was coming in from,
Oh, during construction. It was the football game, wasn't it?
it was,
It was
yeah.
the first home football game at Scoopers, but the construction on Lozelle was happening, so that kind of is what happened on that, why it was such a cluster.
Okay, and yeah, because there's that extra street that's on down, what's on down from Nellie? West.
The other entrance to the park?
There's one that stubs out there from Nellie that people absolutely, might be. I don't know the name of it. I just remember when I came in that we had good traffic control we had someone directing traffic from the police department at the one intersection. We had the light working at the Nellie intersection, and at the next one, we had people who were never going to get out of there until it was all over. And so I thought at the time that would be a good place for, at least at that critical point, to have a body on hand directing traffic just to get those people through there from time to time.
Just knowing how soccer go, I mean, I doubt whether, I mean, not saying all the stars couldn't align, but I doubt whether they'll both end at the same time.
And I can address to scheduling on that. So with soccer, you run, with the younger age groups, you run about an 80-minute game time, 60 to 80 minutes. And they're scheduled, we start at 8 a.m. and run probably until 9 p.m. at night with consistent games going back to back. So at any given time, you'll probably have 4 or 5 games ending at the same time. But at the same time, you'll have 4 or 5 games starting too. It'll be constant traffic down there, but manageable. We've done it the fall tournament has been happening in Sturgis Soccer for, double-digit years now, for a long time. So I think it's going to be congested, but as soccer games go, they're stacked and sporadic, and, it's constant traffic, not all at the same time release.
Thank you, Rochelle. And obviously, our chief will be monitoring every piece of traffic needs down there, so. Remind me, we got a first and a second on this. Any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Okay, that is carried. Item 12.6 is continuation of our departmental level and some other budget hearings. First on our list tonight is city administrator.
Yeah, well, good evening. We'll just continue on with the budget hearing, but before we get into the budgets, we had talked about providing an opportunity for those that request funds that are not part of this, in the city, I guess, structure piece of it, to be able to have the opportunity to get in front. So I know a lot of them are out here today, and so I just call them up one by one, starting with the chamber, and once we're done with that, then we'll get into each of the budgets that we're going to be reviewing tonight. So with that, Veronica.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for having us tonight. We have handed out to you a couple of documents. The first one is just a quick document showing our organizational snapshot for the Sturgis Area Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. I should introduce myself. My name is Veronica Grosick. I'm the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau here in Sturgis, and I have with me tonight Cadence Gleason, our Assistant Director, and for the first time before you, Taylor Vandersice, our Membership Coordinator, and 4 board members, I believe, in the room to support us. So anyway, continuing on, I have provided you a brief organizational snapshot in case you have some questions just about the basics of the Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau and what we do for the community and what we do for you as our city government. I did also provide what we call our scope of services timeline. It's the larger document, the chart in front of you, and that shows in a more in-depth way all of the events, projects, big initiatives that we are doing across the board for the entire year, when we're doing them, and how intensive each thing is. So you can kind of see how we structure our year and what we're doing and when, and how those fall within our mission components. So moving on to the reason that we're here tonight, we typically enter negotiations for a professional services agreement with the City of Sturgis to help support everything that we're doing as a chamber this time of year. And last year, we made some big changes to that. We did request our regular funding last year, and we received it. We also requested and received an extra $20,000 to take over the Music on Main event series from you guys to us. So I think, just a couple notes on that. We had an overwhelmingly positive response to it. We expanded it from the 7 or 8 nights that you had typically been doing before Rally to 12 nights. One of the big things that we did receive feedback on from the community was that they would like to see it extended another hour, so not 2 hours, but 3 hours each of the 12 nights. And so in our funding request for 2026, which is at the bottom of the sheet before you, we have included $7,000, which would be the expense to add that extra hour of music to the Music on Main series. So essentially, that's what we're asking you for 2026. The regular funding we got this past year, thank you. And in addition, the $7,000 to add that 3rd hour of Music on Main, and then my board did discuss at length and vote to request a 2.7%, essentially an inflationary increase moving forward. So that number is in there as well. That final figure we also got last year, the $10,000 that we hand out on your behalf and as the chamber as well, to different organizations across town to put on their own events. And the total down there is $167,816 for the year. And if you have any questions about where exactly you guys take those funds from, I did provide some notes at the bottom, the page numbers and item numbers that we get all of those different types of funding from in your budget from 2025. Do you have any questions for me or comments about anything that we do? Questions about chamber initiatives?
Certainly appreciated your efforts on Music on Main this year.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Yeah, we were a little wary going into it, but can you guys say anything about Music on Main specifically? How did it go for you as the staff?
Hi, I am Taylor Vandersice, Membership Coordinator. I would say the overwhelmingly majority of feedback we got was very positive. They loved the different aspects of Music on Main that we had this year. I would say, without having the exact numbers in front of me, we had some record attendance numbers as well as record attendance registration for the mountain bike portion of the events. I think that's a pretty big, important part of Music on Main that we expanded with the recreational portion that was also pretty successful. So I think it was generally, pretty well appreciated and received. And we had a blast doing it all summer. It was fun.
Thank you.
Veronica, have you had a chance to see what the final what it costs to do and how you did it and
Yep. So
success of it?
I don't, in terms of the P&L, I don't have that in front of me right now, but I can say I believe this is possibly the first year ever that we broke even, and we're right at about that point. So one thing I did forget to note is that, two things actually, we are willing to, in exchange for this extra funding, we would like to take over the insurance policy for that event. So I believe that's listed elsewhere in your own budget. It looks like page 40 of your budget, and that's about a $5,000, actually closer to $6,000 expense that you guys are covering for Music on Main, but it just makes sense for us to take on that expense and do it ourselves. And of course, we would list you as additional insured on that policy, as with all of our other events that use city facilities. And I guess an alternate option that the board would fall back on is if you're not comfortable funding that extra third hour of music for Music on Main this year, we would be willing to shift it from 6 to 8 p.m. to 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. to kind of find that middle ground and compromise a little bit so that you wouldn't have that additional expense, but we could still get later into those evening hours that people are looking for.
Well, maybe, because right now we did 12 last year. We did 8 in the past. So if that's an issue, maybe we move back away from 12. We did the one on the Wednesday prior to the rally. Both of us were down there, and there wasn't a lot of locals. That was more
it was a
rally
little
related,
quieter.
which it was good. I mean, it was great for them to have that experience and kind of added to the overall environment down there. But it didn't necessarily meet the needs, I guess, from a community on Music on Main. So that might be one option.
Yep. And our board did discuss, board did discuss that, and they had similar comments about it, so I think there's room for negotiation there, for sure.
And then on our budget last year was 156, but that was before, because you guys were taking the sound also.
Yeah.
But we have a contract, or a 5-year contract for that. We've just completed 2 years. So we ended up paying the $10,200. So we were going to reduce from 156, $10,200, because we were actually going to assume that cost, which we did.
Yep.
I guess my
Yeah, and that worked
recommendation
out
is that
fine.
we would do that again next year. So, from this amount, subtract that 10.2, and then the city will continue with that contract, at least until it's over. And then at that point, maybe if you're, still into it and wanting to, you could take it on.
Yeah, yep. So basically, you guys have that existing contract, so until that contract's done, you just kind of withhold that portion of the funds, which is a set in stone number, so there's no surprises there. And that production company is great, so we have no problem with that. Yeah.
Any additional questions?
I guess I would like to, if there was room to, as Aaron said, maybe we eliminate one. The 3-hour thing was something I heard too. So
Yep.
if there's a way to do that and maybe just eliminate one night and it would help offset some of that cost, great.
Yeah. So in just some preliminary thoughts on that, if we eliminate one night, that eliminates paying for 2 hours of music, but we're looking at adding 11 or 12 hours, did I say nights? Hours of music in total. So it's not like a 1-for-1, but there's room for negotiation. Absolutely.
Yeah, it wouldn't maybe totally offset it, but it would help.
6:30 to 9.
6:30 to 9. Yeah, I mean, we can keep talking about it. My board likes to be in on that conversation too, so they voted on this proposal, so I'd take that back to the board. But if you guys have other ideas, I think we're very open to that process.
How long does the race normally last? Particularly, I guess, when you're doing the professional pro series.
So
up
the
front.
recreational series was a lot shorter. That was probably an average of 30 minutes or so. Obviously you got a wide range of racers. The professional, the pro series at the first half of summer, it averaged anywhere from 45 minutes to maybe an hour and 15, an hour 20. So there was some, complaints or concerns that some of the racers would get back and we'd be 3/4 done with the night already.
Was that kind of the center mass coming back, or was that everybody back within that time frame?
Pretty much everybody. There's going to be some people that, not nearly as speedy quick as some of those high school boys that can rip through, but I'd say by the time, we got the sweeper, as we called it, through, that's usually what it was at.
Well, we'll be working through that in the coming weeks. We appreciate you coming forward with all this great information and all the wide range of activities that the Chamber provides the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Veronica. Next up is SEDC.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Amanda Anglin. I'm the Executive Director of the Sturgis Economic Development Corporation, and
Paul Bisson, Chairman of the Sturgis Economic Development Board.
so on behalf of the SCDC Board of Directors, we are requesting $135,000 for the 2026 budget. That number comes from our allocation in previous years. This year, I believe we're currently at 90,000, but prior to that, for a number of years, 135,000 was our annual allocation. So at this time, our request is for that. I did send a formal request to the mayor and Aaron back in June, so I can certainly share that again with everyone. So you have a copy of that. I apologize. I should have done that before the meeting, but I did not think about that. But I'll go into my comments, and then if you have any questions, we're happy to answer those. So SEDC's mission is to actively pursue economic development by assisting expanding or new business, industry, and housing in Sturgis and Meade County. Our vision is to be the driving force behind the responsible and sustainable development of our community, making Sturgis the premier center for business and industry. We achieve this by assisting our local retail, commercial, and industrial businesses, as well as our entrepreneurial startups, attracting new job opportunities, facilitating the development of housing, infrastructure, sites, and buildings, adopting a regional planning approach to promote sustainable growth. SEDC has been a cornerstone of economic development in Sturgis for 52 years. During this time, we have systematically developed the 45-acre Sturgis Industrial Park, which is now home to over 25 businesses employing more than 250 skilled and well-paid individuals. The Sturgis Industrial Park adds approximately $19.5 million to the overall valuation of the city of Sturgis, generating nearly $300,000 in annual property taxes for the city, county, and the school district. Beyond the industrial park, SEDC has played a significant role in the creation and retention of countless other jobs, along with other various projects throughout the community. Those projects include Aspen Grove Assisted Living, Dolan Creek Estates, Sierra Vista Apartments, Canyon View Estates, Dolan Creek Senior Living, Trailhead Subdivision, Wildflower Estates, Little Promises Daycare, the cleanup of the Exit 32 property, Domino's, Waring Ford, Indian Motorcycle, Big D, the Arby's gas station, Jake's Collision Repair, Scooptown Car Wash, Sturgis Brewing Company, Beljo Lee Sparkling House, and Sturgis Strikers Bowling Alley, among many others. These projects collectively contribute approximately $79 million to the city of Sturgis's overall valuation, generating nearly $882,000 in annual property taxes for the city, county, and school district. In total, the housing developments have added over 250 new units, and we're still counting. Our organization provides technical assistance, educational support, and financial guidance to help businesses succeed. We offer assistance in locating properties, providing loan funds, and navigating business challenges. Additionally, we actively market the community to encourage business development investment. So far in 2025, we've seen 9 new businesses open in Sturgis, with 4 of those receiving direct support from SEDC. Each of these businesses is actively contributing to the city's sales tax revenue, strengthening the local economy. In addition to these successes, SEDC is currently working with 16 businesses. 6 are existing businesses exploring expansion opportunities in Sturgis. 10 are business prospects considering opening in Sturgis, with 7 of those potentially locating in the Sturgis Industrial Park. While our work is focused on Sturgis, I just want to note that it's important that SEDC also serves Meade County, so we are actively engaged in numerous projects outside of the city limits, which I won't get into. Our efforts have a direct and measurable impact on the city of Sturgis by expanding our tax base, creating new job opportunities, generating property and sales tax revenue. These outcomes help sustain our growth for our community for the long term. So looking ahead, our priorities as an organization include advancing development at the Exit 32 property, which we are actively working with prospects. There is a possibility that we may need to provide incentives. Supporting growth and retention in the Sturgis Industrial Park by encouraging construction and possibly working on another SEDC building. Attracting new businesses and supporting local entrepreneurs. We continue to seek out options for a retail incubator space, which could involve purchasing property on Main Street or somewhere else within Sturgis. Continuing to address housing challenges, working with our major employers, including the school district, to build secure, affordable housing options for our teachers, advocating for our community needs, and increasing our marketing efforts to promote Sturgis outside of the Black Hills region for business growth, which will take additional funds. All of these items are identified in our strategic plan as projects that we intend to continue working on. Through our professional services contract with the City of Sturgis, we're also committed to assisting with updating the comprehensive plan, supporting the development of TIF processes and procedures, and collaborating with the city planner to streamline planning and permitting, ensuring projects move forward efficiently. So, Paul, do you have any comments in addition to that?
Good job, Amanda. I would like to clarify a couple things, and one is regarding the 33% reduction we took for this year. That was something that the mayor and us agreed to. You guys have been a great partner of ours, and to demonstrate our appreciation of that, we agreed to that 33% reduction and taking on those additional responsibilities you were talking about, with the understanding that that couldn't be long-term. We've accomplished a lot, as Amanda has laid out, and to do that, it has to be funded properly. We are sitting on a amount of cash right now, but that is generated from the sale of capital assets. And as you all know, it's not a good practice to use capital assets proceeds to be used for operating purposes. And so we want to avoid future growth problems by tapping into those. And so we're requesting more of a budget that'll help us fund those items. And so we appreciate that.
We fully recognize the need for budget adjustments, and through our partnership are committing to helping fill the gaps and support the city wherever possible. We truly appreciate all of the support from the City of Sturgis that we've had over the years and our ongoing efforts to create a thriving community. So thank you for your time and your consideration, and we appreciate what you do for our community.
We'd certainly entertain any questions you might have, correct?
Thank you, guys. Yeah, good organization, and done a lot for the community.
Couldn't do it without you, so we appreciate your support, really do.
Yeah, well, it's another case of a community being involved completely to build a community. So, is there any questions from council on this?
If I could add one other item. Both Amanda and I are on the Sturgis
Strategic Housing Trust Fund Advisory Board.
It's a mouthful, yes. And it's another partnership where SEDC can play a pivotal role in helping the housing needs in the community. And it's those types of partnerships that SEDC has that kind of goes unnoticed sometimes, but I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that we're going to leverage that as much as we can to address housing needs in the area.
And that partnership will hopefully bring some additional funding to help create affordable housing in Sturgis.
Thanks again.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Sturgis Raleigh Charities, Marcia Johnson.
Good evening. I'm Marcia Johnston. I was here not too long ago, so I'm not going to say a whole lot. But I would like to remind you that by the end of 24, Sturgis Raleigh Charities had given $1,247,397 to local charities. Those charities, I don't think I said last time, but we gave to over 160 different charities in the Sturgis city proper, or Meade School District area. So that's quite a few different places we've been able to fund. In the days when we had almost more money than we had proposals for, those were the great days. It was great to be able to hand out those checks to everybody who asked for money. Unfortunately, the last several years, we get in 160,000 and up requests. And when you don't have the kind of money that we used to have, it gets very difficult for us to be able to help some of those entities. Just want to remind you of, say, the top 4 that we give to. The Crisis Center for $171,000 so far. The Dental Bus, $106,000. The Northern Hills CASA, $71,000. The Summer Reading Program, $31,000. Those are different projects that we've been able to give money to and fund to and help them. And some of these places that the money has gone to, we're part of their overall budget. If they don't have the money coming from us, it's extremely difficult for them to meet the budgets that they have. Unfortunately, we've had to let them know this last year that the money's not there that we used to have. So we would ask that they would ask for the bare bones of what they needed. Now, I'm not really here, I guess, to say that I want you to give the $25,000 to Sturgis Rally Charities. I would love it if you did. But the $25,000 that used to be in the budget started way long time ago. I don't even know how long ago. And it was not until just a few years ago that the $25,000 was given to us to give away, since we already knew the people that had the concerns and needed the money around town. So I'm not here saying you have to do the $25,000 and you have to give it to Sturgis Rally Charities. I'm saying if you can find it in the budget to put that $25,000 back in that used to be in there, our local charities need that money. It doesn't have to come to Sturgis Rally Charities. You all can make the decisions too, just as well as we can. If you want our help, we're here to help, because we've forged really good relationships with a lot of these places. So if you can find it to put it in there, I ask that you can, for these charities that are all local. They all have to either, in our opinion and our bylaws, they have to either be in the city of Sturgis or within the Meade School District. So I know it's a hard job. I've been up there. I don't envy you, and thank you.
Thank you, Marcia.
Thanks, Marcia. The last request we have tonight is from Prairie Hills Transit. I did put their letter in your packet. I'll just do a quick review. They're requesting $14,000 in funding. This is a cash match to federal dollars that will be used for public transportation for residents of the city of Sturgis. In 2023, they provided 7,464 trips to 199 riders. It grew in 2024 to 10,847 rides to 259 riders, a jump of 45%. It looks like they continue to get more growth with youth riders. So again, their request is for $14,000. Just looking back, just putting the budget together, it shows back to 2022, probably beyond that, but that's been pretty consistent amount for the last 3-4 years. So, any questions on those requests? We'll move into looking at the budget departments. The first one up is the city administrator. Just a couple changes on this. When we added in for insurance and health insurance, they doubled that. I don't. I have, I'm retired military, so I don't take any of the medical piece of it, so we'll revise that. That total for total expenses at 275, 877 versus the 292, 261. And at the bottom, it's 281,387 versus the 297, 771. The biggest increase for the budget from 25 to 26 is that in the past, we always had Deb Holland. She was, 50% of her expense went to the mayor and council budget, and 50% went to the city administrator budget. It just made sense to me and to Deb is to put that just in one particular budget. It forces, when we do the finance, we have to go and make those adjustments. It's just a lot more actions going on. It's all coming out of the general fund anyway. She works full-time with me in the administrative side. It just made sense that we'd put that in my budget and not necessarily have that in the mayor and the council. I understand why it came that way. When she was initially hired back 21 or 22, she worked directly for the council, not for the city manager. And so it made sense at that point, to put that inside the mayor council. And I think there was some legacy in that through 2025. So other than that, probably the other thing you'd see there is on rent. That's the activity number 4240. One of the things that we've been doing is that we have, like the copier machine up there, we split that amongst several different departments. And so every month when we're doing claims, you get the bill and you have to go back and itemize it to all these different departments. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's up in my area. It probably gets used by me more than most people. And so it just made sense to put that copier lease total within my budget. So other than that, that budget looks pretty consistent. One thing I would like to add is on the personnel cost. Now this is making the assumption that with the wage study that was completed by Condrey and Associates here earlier this year, that we would implement that wage compensation program over 2 years. Just based on the expense of doing it all in 1 year with the addition of having the 27th pay period that we have in 2026. And again, that happens every 11 years. That essentially increases staff pay on the budget by about 3.85%, roughly right around that area. And so we're looking at, whatever your increase is in that Condrey study, you would get half of that in 2026, and then the remaining half would be in 2027. Now, depending on once we get done with the budget, what is being presented to you today and on the 29th, these are the department heads telling you what their needs and what their wants are. It doesn't necessarily, it's not a balanced budget yet. We still have to put in the revenue for the general fund piece of it specifically. And then again, we need to have a structurally balanced budget when we get to first reading in October. We felt this was probably a good approach. I could tell you when I was on council, I never really had a clear understanding from the department head conversation. And so I felt it was, a process improvement here was to be able to allow them, each of those departments, to you. And at the end of the day, and I've already managed their expectations that, there's going to be more needs and wants than there's going to be means available to pay for those needs and wants. And so we're probably going to have to make some cuts. The only thing I've talked to them about is that you don't want to make the same cuts in the same activities year in and year out. We're trying to stay within this kind of band of excellence in terms of providing service to our community. And we know that we're not always going to be at the very top of that excellence because that takes more money than we have available. But there is a bare minimum that we want to stay above. And so when you look at your different activities and your different operations within your budget, there's sometimes you're going to take some risk in some areas 1 year, but you don't want to take that same risk multiple years. You'll spread that around a little bit because at the end of the day, we always have more requirements than we have funds available. But what you'll hear, from the budgets I'll be presenting and then the rest of the department heads will be presenting is kind of, hey, if we had all the money available, and again, within constraints, they've already kind of budgeted in their own minds in terms of understanding that. But I do think it's important things from their perspective. They're the ones that manage those budgets, and for the most part, they've been managing budgets or been involved in this departments for quite some time. But it also gives you an opportunity to ask questions, and at the end of the day, the priorities is going to be your priorities based on what you want to fund. The only thing I ask is that, one of the challenges, and if you talk to Rick, and to any of us, quite frankly. Not to throw you underneath the bus again, Rick. But there's always more demands on specifically like Public Works is the example, than resources that we provide them. And we understand that. We just sometimes have to be able to communicate back on, these what our priorities are. We can't do 100% of everything all the time throughout the 365 unless it's resourced. And we know that not everything's going to be resourced. So I think having you having an understanding of that and kind of setting those priorities, that kind of gives us our marching orders, understands what needs to be done at 100%, what can be done at 70%, for example. So with that, from the city administrator, that's looking at it from the Condrey piece of it. That includes both myself and Deb. And then for the most part, everything's the same other than adding in that rent. Going on to the next department, unless there's any questions on, stop me if there's any other questions. We did sit down with legal and finance, and we probably spent quite a bit of time on each one of these budgets with that committee with the 4 representatives and the mayor. So it's been vetted pretty good. We recognize that once we do have an understanding what our revenue's in, we're probably going to have to come back to the legal and finance to get that reviewed. And then once we get into first reading, hopefully that first meeting in October and then second reading and stuff, that's where, again, we definitely have to have a structured balance and make sure that whatever our expenses we have the revenue, at least anticipated revenue coming in to be able to pay for it. So the next one is the mayor and council. Really, I'll just kind of brief by exception some of the changes. Obviously your personnel piece has gone down because, again, we pulled Deb from your budget into my budget. We did add in for the comprehensive plan update, $25,750. At one time it was like $25,000, so we just added a little bit of an increase. I do have to reach out and talk to Jenny Sitzma and get a more of an invoice on exactly what we think that would cost. Part of her question will be is, how much are we going to get accomplished in 26? Is it going to be started and finished in 26, or are we just kind of, that's the start and we finish in 2027? But we'll get more information on that. But right now for our starting piece of it, and we think that's a reasonable amount to anticipate, that's $25,750. On publishing activity, that's $4230. We did add on that number 1, legal notices. We know with the American legal ordinance recodifications that we're going to be publishing a lot more changes with our ordinances. So we wanted to make sure we had enough money there to be able to publish that within the Black Hills Pioneer and to get that information out there. A lot of research earlier this year. We're kind of reaping the benefit right now. What we anticipated the cost in 2025 is going to be less than that, and so we factored that going into 26. That's why that's lower. One of the things we did add in for 4270 travel and conferences, we've had some opportunities for training or for, I forgot what it was called. It's like a workshop for elected officials. I went to that once. It was pretty valuable, but we didn't have any money set aside for you in 2025. We were trying to correct that for 2026. I encourage any of our elected officials that have an opportunity to go to any of these kind of trainings to take it. I know Councilor Chaplin, he and I and Ann went to the budget training here a couple months ago that was in Rapid City, and very valuable. I mean, we all learned from that. So we did add more into that to give you the opportunity to be able to participate in those training workshop opportunities. And this is just kind of on the second page of the mayor and council, that 80,000 for contingency. This year we have 95,000. Again, that contingency, there's always unexpected things coming up. And if you go through an appropriations change, it has to go through a first reading and a second reading. And as we all know, that can be time consuming. We'll end up doing some of those towards the end of the year. But the contingency fund allows you to do it by resolution. You can move money from that 80,000 or whatever that amount's going to be for 2026, and by resolution, you can move that into the budget fund and activity that you decide to put it in. For example, one of the things we learned at that budget training is that, we were actually putting invoices against the contingency account. Well, that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to charge that against the account, that activity where it's supposed to be, and then move the money from contingency into that particular account. And again, you can do that by a simple resolution to be able to make that change. Probably one of the exciting things, at least from my perspective, if you look at the last one, 5510, transfer from the ambulance fund, and I've sat and talked to Chief Vanderwater and Director Aiden Schillig from the ambulance. We are absolutely confident that the general fund is not going to have to augment the ambulance budget. We've implemented the third-party billing. That's going really well. There's a few things that we're still learning through that we have to provide some information. But in terms of capturing the revenue from the work that we provide in doing 911 calls and transfers, that's a game changer, for our ambulance department. So I would be shocked if we had to be able to provide any money from the general fund, into that particular account. I would think at some point in the future, they would be able to provide some money to the general fund if necessary. But what we're also looking at, as you heard tonight, the roof. That's one thing that Aiden's looking at, and you'll be talking about this. I won't get too far into the future, but he'll be talking about that with his budget. So again, if you're looking at your overall mayor and council budget, what you budget in 2025 and what we're projecting for 2026, you can see is quite a reduction. Most of that's with Deb moving on to city administrator, just moving the fund, moving that expense into the right budget. But obviously that 160 from the savings from the ambulance, I think is pretty huge. So any questions on the mayor and council budget?
Aaron, what's the $500 under utilities for cell phone and tablet data?
What activity is that one again?
4280.
4280? Yeah, that is cell phones. No, that's, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't have a cell phone from the city, so we can probably zero that out, right?
Could do that. That's something we should, one of the things, it's another topic for another day, but, when it comes down to official conversations, sometimes, I've been told having a private phone, that's why I've kept mine. I don't use it that much. I use my private one more than not, but something we need to consider. But yeah, if there's nobody has a tablet, nobody has a cell phone, then yeah, we can zero that out.
But we spent 230 on that.
That was probably my phone, because I have a city phone, and that was probably that line item.
Okay, we'll move that out, and that goes to my budget. I think we are. Any other questions on mayor and council? Going on to the attorney budget. The most significant change, obviously, is that we've moved the expense from 4220 professional fees, the $110 that we had for legal support, from Nelson Law, specifically Eric Davis, and then we've also had some support from other law firms, coordinated and worked, facilitated through Eric on some of the things that we've had, and moved those expenses up into the personal expense piece of it. That is prorated, looking at it being a 30-hour employee, but that does still, if you're 30 hours above, it does still include full benefits. You can see there's an increase on for Westlaw subscription. That's something that having a city attorney as a contract or as a city employee is needed. And I guess if you do have questions, Eric, I'll turn that one over to you because you can talk it much better than I. We did keep a external legal outsource of $25,000 just with some of the ongoing litigation that's going on where we have some of these other law firms that are providing assistance to the city of Sturgis. Other than that, though, it's pretty straightforward unless you have any questions on that particular budget. If no questions, I'll turn this over to Ann, and she'll discuss the finance budget.
The professional fees. If you can see, citizen serve license, we raised that, and what we've done is we've brought everything into the finance budget, so we aren't separating everything out into all the other departments. So we've so that increased that, and Cassell, sorry about that. Citizen serve we took out, and Rick is going to pay for that one. And then if you look at the financial assistance, the cemetery cloud services, that we took out, and that is being moved to cemetery. So those are the differences in that. The rent on the postage meter is going up, and we knew that because we got the new bill, so we were able to get that actual. And then the only other thing that I have is
Because of cost of postage.
it's the machine itself, the meter. It's the postage meter. I don't know. They didn't have, I don't know what the reason was. I don't know if they raise it a percentage every year. But the last bill we got, it had gone up from the 16, let's see, where are we? The 1673 to the 1960 a year.
1900.
1,960. It's for the rent of the meter, of the postage meter. And the last thing that we did is training and travel. We added $2,000 in there. With the new staff, I feel it's important for them to be able to go to finance officer school and any workshops that the municipal league puts out there. And I think that's what I've got.
And we've got 1,700 in elections for next year.
We put that in case somebody would step down, if we had a referral, for if there were an election. We do not have an actual election next year.
I knew that, I just wanted to.
Yeah, and 1,700 is basically to do one election.
Right.
Is what it costs to do one election. So we just put that in there just in case we had something that comes up that would require it.
Well, that's a little rare. We've got almost a $40,000 reduction from 25 to 26 there, so.
Well, and part of that too is that, we've only had 4 folks working in that department, but last year the budget that was approved actually had it for 5 FTEs. So basically the 4 FTEs is kind of going back to what the intent was. So next up is Rick Bush for planning and permitting.
Evening, Mayor, Council. Planning and permitting budget. I guess when Aaron and I sat down and put this together, I would really say this is probably a needs budget. And we looked at it, what do we need to run that department? There isn't a lot of wants in it because we really I don't know what the wants are yet. Probably one of the bigger things and one of the more significant increases was in the FTEs. Not only do we have our part-time inspector, we've budgeted for a full-time position there, full-time position for the GIS coordinator and for the planning director. So that's probably the major increase. And then like Ann alluded to, and we're doing it in most of the budgets, is we're trying to move software packages to where they make the most sense. Instead of, it was very confusing, and it was hard when we would receive the invoice if you didn't have permissions for all the different departments, which most of the time you wouldn't, to even get it correctly invoiced. And so like Ann talked about, the Citizen Serve, it is primarily used for buildings and planning and permitting. So we moved all of that into the planning budget. We'll pay for the entire year's software, knowing that other people are using it throughout the year, but that's where it made the most sense to land. Other big thing, we did include the copier lease, which, talking with Aaron, we felt that probably the pod down here would make the most sense when we transition the planning and permitting department back, and that was a copier that used to be taken underneath of the rally department. It was cheaper to keep that than it was to get out of that lease. So again, Aaron took the full lease for the copier upstairs. We took for the one for downstairs, and it seems like that would make a lot of sense. Other than that, we really don't have a lot of, probably the other biggest expense, and we're going to look and see what we can do is the express bill pay fees. And so right now we're paying all those fees every time somebody gets on and gets a contractor license or any kind of a permit, and they use their credit card. We're paying the fees for that. We are looking into, and I don't know if we'll get it done prior to this budget being adopted, where the credit card vendor will charge the user and not us. And you'll see that in some other budgets as well. I still have to follow back up. We've got the GPS in the base station. The base station is up at the fire hall. It runs 24/7. I've got to get some numbers put together on some annual costs there. The rover that our GIS technician uses to go out and shoot different things in, some of that's got to be upgraded from time to time. But overall, we feel pretty comfortable where we sit on this budget. So I'd be open to any questions you might have on it.
Hey, Rick, I might just add on one thing on the personnel side of it. You know, we have Dennis Hafner that's a part-time, non-benefit employee right now that's been taking care of our building inspections, and he has been probably since this spring. So what we budgeted is to get him through maybe 1 September, but that's really kind of depends on if we end up getting somebody else that moves into a full-time position. So if you look at that wage of $43,000, it would actually be more than that if that person was to start on the first of the year. And if this person did start on the first of the year and had all the qualifications, didn't need to do a left seat, right seat, kind of a knowledge transfer in his part-time support with us, and then that income would be available for this person. But it allows us to, we've opened this up before, and we haven't been able to get either a qualified person or somebody that we were comfortable with. And having Dennis provide that support, and again, I know some of you know Dennis. You know, Dennis did this for a long time in Spearfish. He retired from Spearfish. That's why he's not available to go full-time for the city of Sturgis, but he's been doing it on a part-time side. So he's extremely experienced and knowledgeable when it comes down to building inspections. So we can hire somebody that may not have all the certifications, but they have some kind of building background, some kind of the attributes and skills that, you know, we think would be great for the city of Sturgis. We just got to get you the certifications and maybe do some left seat, right seat, but we can hire the right person, you know, in this position. And so that's kind of what we're trying to move in towards. And again, that's pretty flexible. You know, we can have Dennis till the 1st of September, or maybe he'll be done, you know, by the 1st of March, depending on who we get and what kind of qualifications and are they ready to kind of take the reins.
Yeah, good point. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you. Next up is Chris Hahn with the library.
All right, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We were wondering if the library could have dibs on the savings that you guys keep coming up with.
You can always put a request in.
Okay, we'll do that. The 2026 library budget, in many ways, it's trying to get us to pre-2025 levels. And in some cases, some increases just because costs are going up. The top priorities of the library are programming, both for kids and adults. Our books, obviously, also our ebooks, which are becoming a bigger and bigger part of our circulation, like pushing 40% of our checkouts are digital. And also adequate staffing to make sure that we're able to provide our programming and to provide the service that we're known for. Another priority that we've added this year is to see if we can get the staff flooring fixed, because it's fallen apart. It's been glued down multiple times. It keeps bubbling up, and we're kind of worried about that being a safety issue. So that's why there's a big chunk under building maintenance, which should be to cover that. Other items that we have in the budget that are important, under professional fees, our computer support, which is all part of the consortium that we belong to, those fees, we're expected to pay a certain amount every year. Our computer maintenance replacement is kind of flexible. We're in pretty good shape that way. We always like to have a little bit in case a computer goes down. In fact, I was working on one today that's making some noises. It's about 4 years old. It's probably about time to be replaced. We'd like to increase the number of hotspots that we offer. We had 10. We cut that back to 5 for this year to fit within the budget, and they're always out. In fact, we usually have people on hold for those. We'd like to bump that back up to 8 instead of 5. And also some money back in the budget for professional development, so travel and training, whether through going to conferences or some virtual training that's available. So that's where we've kind of focused. That's kind of where we're at. If you guys have any questions about anything, I'd be happy to talk about that more.
I'll make a joke. I had my fingers crossed when you called dibs, so.
Dang it. Okay, fine. Fine.
Chris, did you say that
sorry.
40% of checkouts were e-books?
It's right around there, yeah. It was about 36% last year, I think. And this year I looked at some stats a couple weeks ago and we're pushing 40%. So, yeah.
Is that, I mean, I can't, at my age, I don't even understand that, but is it younger people?
That I can't tell you offhand. I would say it probably skews younger, but we have a number of patrons over, we'll say 40, who use it exclusively. And a lot of them use it for audiobooks. More than for print books,
Almost have to these days because we don't have like in my new car, they don't even have a way to play a cassette player.
And that's something we brought up as far as the AV budget. We don't spend a lot of money on audiobooks anymore.
So I think what he wants is an 8-track.
You know, it's headed that way. That's a discussion for another day, but
and then can I also ask, what's a hotspot?
A hotspot gives people internet access. It's essentially a Wi-Fi hub that you can check out and use. Some of our patrons live places where they have poor or no cell connection, and this can help with that. Although if they have no cell connection, it's not really going to help them. But people use it for all sorts of different things. But yeah, it's a way to access the internet if you don't have, say, a cable modem or something in your house.
How long can you check it out for?
5 days. And then you have to wait a week before you can check it out another 5 days. Because some people were, let's say, abusing the system. And we're not here to subsidize their internet, but if they have a temporary need, we can definitely help with that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you bet. Anything else?
Well, at the same process, we're going to be working through, just like like Aaron said. I mean, we certainly want to make sure that we fund our library to the greatest extent that we can.
And just, I guess, sorry.
No, go
I
ahead.
was just saying, as an aside, do we have salaries up there yet? Because I haven't seen those. Yes. Okay, we did, I asked for a little more in the part-time budget because that, as you can see, it at one point disappeared, but then you guys were able to find some money for last year, and we would like to increase that, especially if the part-time wages are going up. We're going to need some more hours for those people because they're being used quite a bit. Yeah. And would it be possible for me to get a copy of that? Thanks. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you, everybody.
It's actually on the agenda as well.
Oh, is it in the agenda?
docket.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a part of the agenda packet.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Turn that back on. All right, thanks, Chris. Will be community center, recreation, and auditorium. The three next budgets are Rod's.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Our biggest wage here, the wages are going to be increased. There's a lot of our budget increases for the part-time, for the lifeguards and front desk. We like to staff that as normal as we have had past. So with the wage study and extra hours, that was a pretty big increase we're looking at for the part-time wages there for an increase there. Down on professional fees for the flooring, we haven't, something I want to highlight there, we have wanted to do that this year, never got it done, so I'd like to put it in the budget for next year. Hopefully we can get that done. It's something that needs to be done every 5 years, so we haven't done it, so it needs to get done. It's getting kind of worn down, so we'd like to get that done next year. Repairs and maintenance, I'd like to highlight the Rasmussens. We increased that from 28,000 to 50,000. Right now, year to date, we're at 32,000, and last year we spent 52,000. So like I said, at legal and finance, I wish I had a crystal ball. You know, like maybe we won't need all 50, but after visiting with Rick and Aaron, we might need to put 50 in there just in case we use that. So hopefully you don't need it, but every time I think we're getting ahead, something breaks. So, but yeah, that's a big major increase there for the repairs and maintenance is the Rasmussens. Supplies and materials, I just increased that a little bit for custodial
Hey, Rod,
supplies.
just let me
Sorry.
just piggyback on you for just a moment. You know, I talked about the buildings budget and how we're kind of putting all buildings underneath one particular budget, one department. Part of that is because if you look at public works, that we have people that work in the public works that have a lot of acquired skills beyond what their job is right now. We have people that are comfortable with HVACs. We have people that are comfortable with electrical, plumbing, the whole 9 yards. So the intent is that we can leverage that experience to be able to conduct some of these particular things with, building repair instead of always outsourcing it to Rasmussen. Now, they usually have to provide the specialized part, or if it's a piece of a part, and there'll be some times where they have a capability that it's beyond us, and we'll have to go to them. But the intent is to be able to try to leverage the skills that we have within our team to be able to take care of that. Now it kind of goes back to a little bit of back and forth in terms of they have other responsibilities too, and so we have to be able to manage through that. But the intent is to be able to leverage that experience and probably try to reduce the amount of labor that we get from some of these other folks that are helping us out. Thanks.
Yep, thanks, Aaron. Also, I added 750 back for training and travel. That we didn't do none this year, so I'd like to increase that for next year. Add 750 back into the budget for lifeguard training and a Parks and Rec conference or things like that, some training. I did increase the internet for Blue Peak. We were getting Midco donated to us for cable TV, but they cut that, so we had to get cable TV streaming through Blue Peak. And we have 5 TVs that we stream, so we had to increase that for next year, so for the internet for Blue Peak. Furniture and equipment, for weight and cardio equipment, we'd like to add a new treadmill. We got treadmills from 2014 through 2019, so we'd like to get a new treadmill in there. So then with the community center budget, 606, 134. Is there any questions on community center?
One of the things you heard that Rod talk about, and this is kind of the theme with all the budgets, is on training and basically training, staff development, personnel development. Part of that's, guidance they received from me. Last year we took, some risk in that budget to be able to get things down to be, a balanced budget. But again, it's one of those things that you don't really necessarily do the same thing year in and year out. We're not talking about a lot of money when you talk about, we're talking low thousands to be able to do it. But there's value in having our people go to these conferences or go to different training and that stuff to be able to help them either, new business practices, whatever the case may be. So to me, I think that's important. That's why I've asked all of them to, don't go overboard. We're not going to send you to Hawaii for some kind of conference for 5 days. But we have the South Dakota Municipality League, and we have things like that we can do, and we want to leverage that where we can.
Yep. All right, on to recreation budget. I increased the referee fees and the softball fees, or I'm sorry, not fees, referees' wages. We're looking to add a men's league, and our co-ed league has increased. And also our youth teams have really increased. So with all the increase, we could probably have more games. So with that, we'll have to have more refs and have reffing more games. the swimming lesson instructors, aerobic instructors, yoga instructors, that's all increases due to the wage study. Then also under professional fees, we've been doing the last few years, which worked out real well. For the volleyball program, we have the high school girls ref volleyball league for us, and in turn we pay that to the volleyball program, high school volleyball program. So it's kind of a fundraiser for them, so it works real well.
And also for your part-time folks, we took them just like everybody else. We took them up halfway. We didn't take them all the way to the top of the range. So
And then that's with
that also.
With the community center, I don't think I mentioned that. With that increase also is with that wage study. So yeah. As far as supplies, materials, I increased that quite a bit with thinking we'll have a men's league next year for softball, and obviously the co-ed league expanding, and just the number of teams. Our participation has really increased with all the kids. So with that, so we just need more supplies and needs like that. So with all that, with the total is $164,50,000 with the recreation budget. Any questions on that? On the auditorium, that's pretty easy. Only thing we added to that, we added custodial to that. That's for the rally staff. That's for Pat Nabe, who's worked down there for several years. It wasn't the community center budget for some reason, but Aaron and I visited, so we moved that over to the auditorium budget. Thought that kind of made sense to put an auditorium budget. So that's pretty much the main change in the auditorium budget. So that's for a budget of $24,857. Any questions on anything?
You have that gym floor in that first budget, is that for the community?
Yep, community center gym floor. Yep. The auditorium gym floor probably has something we'll have to look at to do. It's probably in the future budget, just our heads up, but that's something we'll have to look at. So.
Well, if no other questions for Rod, our last one tonight is human resources with Carrie.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Excuse me. As you can see, my budget includes all of the salary information, also on the professional fees, the $240 for the Adobe Acrobat. Deb worked her magic, and we actually are getting that for much less. Professional associations for both SHRM and the South Dakota just lost it, South Dakota Municipal for the human resources. Just like Aaron was saying, I also added travel and training down there in 4270. The Day of Excellence is, I did a best guess because they don't have their salaries out yet, but it was $200 last year. And then, as you can see, in number 3, the SHRM, South Dakota Human Resources Association, and the Municipal League. That came out to $650. There's a $150 Municipal League conference that I am required to attend, along with a $500 South Dakota Municipal League HR school that would be June 10th and 11th. Pending your questions, that's what I have for the human resources budget.
We do have a municipality conference that's coming up here in the early part of October. Carrie will be down there for one day. She and Ann will be going down for one day, stay that night, come back the next day. I'll be there for 2 days, one night over, and then Rick will be there, I think, because he has some responsibilities as a chairperson for some of these things. He'll be there for probably, I think, 4 days. So that's what we have for the municipality. Jody, I'm not sure. Jody, you in that one? Chief? Are you going to? Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Carrie. Anybody have any questions for Carrie?
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Well, just kind of some, I guess, closing comments. I mean, again, and I think Rick kind of hit it pretty well. This is wants and needs, and some of them there's more needs, and others, maybe a little bit more on the want side of it. But we still have to be able to. They have a balanced budget, and so we have to look at what our revenue projections are going to be for 2026. And see where that comes at, and then total up all these budget requests that we have from all these departments and see what that adds up to. It would be nice if it adds up to a number that's lower than means of finance coming in, but the odds of that are relatively low. And so, they'll have to be able to have an understanding, where they're going to accept some risk, and with some guidance from you, the elected officials. So we have The rest of the budgets, again, the next one we have for this is the special meeting on the 29th. We'll have a legal and finance on the 22nd. Once we get through the 29th, again, give them the opportunity to present what their needs and wants are. But between the 29th of September and if we're going to get that first reading on the first meeting in October, that means we have to be able to really come back probably with the legal and finance, really dot the i's, cross the t's, find out where we're actually going to be set on these expenditures so it matches our means of finance before we come in front of this body for the first reading in October. So a lot to work has been done and a lot more to be done over the next couple weeks.
Aaron, of note, on the 29th, we need to make an action to certify the levy for 2026 to the Meade County Auditor. So council is going to have to make a decision on property tax levy. That's required by state law to be certified. We're gaining traction, at least on some of these pieces. More to come, like you say. On our agenda, this brings us to item 13, executive session. We do have a need for a very short executive session, prudent to SDCL 1-25-2, paragraph 4, preparing for contracts. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I'll move.
We got first by Mark, a second by Jim to go into executive session. Let's go as close as we can because I think this is going to be very quickly for us. And we'll be right back. No action after this executive session. We're ready. Okay, we're back from executive session. I would entertain a motion to go into regular session.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We got a first by Jim, a second by Mark to return to regular session. All those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
That's the end of our agenda for the night. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
First by Ruth, second by Jim to adjourn. Those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.